one is gone. This is what they came for. That ball is crushed.
Boy, he's putting on a clinic.
Great baseball right there. And this is going to do it.
They're roaring at Minute Maid Park in anticipation of Game 2 with their Astros in front of the White Sox 1-0. We thank the Broadway folks, including Kristen Chenoweth, for the opening. These teams are vying for a World Series championship. At least that's eventually where they like to go. We here at MLBN are hoping for a Tony Award. As we welcome you to the Good Sam ALDS telecast on MLB Network, presented by Geico. Hi, everybody. Bob Costas with Jim Cott and Buck Showalter. Before we show you the lineups for Game 2, let's look back to yesterday afternoon. Basically all Astros, 6-1 behind Lance McCullers.
Yeah, the Astros did everything right, and they proved that they can hit fastballs. Lance Lynn didn't get by with any fastballs. I think we'll see a different effort from Giolito today.
Well, they fired the first salvo, but this is a pivotal game. The White Sox can pull this out. You know, this thing could end in Chicago. That's how quickly fortunes change, so you got to stay on task. The White Sox are looking forward to playing the game a little bit more like they're used to playing it.
Let's take a look at Tony La Russa's lineup for the White Sox, Kitty, presented by Geico.
Yeah, I think top to bottom, they have a great combination, as we'll find out the Astros do, of guys that can hit for average. Of course, Jose Abreu in the middle highlighted there, their MVP, their run producer. And I think today, as Tony La Russa said, the goal for that lineup is to swing at strikes and not chase that Valdez curveball.
And the goal for Lucas Giolito, on the other hand, as we flip the lineup card over, Buck, is to somehow figure out how to navigate through this lineup, especially 1 through 7.
Well, everybody talks about the magnificent 7 hitters they have there, and rightfully so. But the thing I love about these guys is they're plus defenders, and they run the bases. This time of year, the game's played in 90-foot increments, not the home run, which is 360 feet. The people who can defend that 90 feet and offense that 90 feet usually end up ahead.
At the top of that lineup, as usual, the 3-time batting champion Jose Altuve. With more on him, Tom Verducci is down on the field. Tom?
Thanks, Bob. Well, at 5'6" and a 3-time batting champion, Jose Altuve doesn't fit the prototype of a dead pole power hitter, but that's exactly what he has become this year. StatCast, powered by Google Cloud, will show us his 2021 home run spray chart. And actually, it's not exactly a spray chart. It's more like a jet stream out to left field. 30 of his 31 home runs hit to the pole side. Altuve has pulled the baseball more this year than ever before in his career. You saw that in Game 1 with a double off the scoreboard in left field. The Astros have made the postseason 5 straight years. Altuve has been a fixture, but this is a new version. The 5'6" Altuve is swinging it like a big man in the middle of the order. Bob?
Tom, thanks very much. When we come back, Framber Valdez will throw the first pitch. Lucas Giolito will oppose him for the White Sox. You're watching the Good Sam ALDS on MLB Network.
Bullpen for Alvarez. Bare hands and throws in time in Game 1. Belongs to Houston.
And as we return to Minute Maid Park, the Astros have just taken the field, counting their victory yesterday. They have beaten the White Sox 6 times in 8 tries. Dusty Baker at age 72, after the sign-stealing scandal here in Houston that cost Jeff Lunau's job, and A.J. Hinch, who since has moved on to Detroit. They called out to Dusty, one of the most experienced and respected hands, and he has done the job for them both in the truncated season of 2020 and this full year in 2021.
Well, Dusty's a manager for any situation, but especially this one. He was a perfect guy to come in here and get some credibility back here. You know, everybody knew they were a talented team, but Dusty put the focus back on a lot of things that it maybe lost its way a little bit, but Dusty was perfect to step in here. Of course, there's another pretty good manager too, Bob.
Turned 77 on Monday, still has the spring in his step. And
I was kidding with him today. You got Jim Cotton, you got me, you got him, you got Dusty without mentioning you, and you know.
Yeah, leave me out of it.
Yeah.
You're the kid. Well, there's a kid, a lefty on the mound, Framber Valdez, and you see 11-8, came off the injured list May 28. He will rely on a big overhand curveball. His control has been a little issue, a lot of deep counts. And the challenge for the White Sox as we take a look at what Framber Valdez will feature, the sinker or the two-seam fastball about half of the time, and the curve in key situations, an occasional changeup and high riding fastball. But the key for the White Sox will be swing at strikes and try to take them the other way.
Valdez broke the ring finger on his left hand, his pitching hand, and missed the first 50 games of this season. Came back to finish 11-6 with an ERA of 3.14 in 22 starts. Did well, as you see, last year in the expanded postseason. He faced the White Sox 2 times this season and did not do well. 13 innings pitched, 6 earned runs. And today's first pitch is presented by Sirius XM. Tim Anderson stands in. He hit .309 the 3rd straight season. He's top 300. Won the batting title 2 years ago at .335. 1 for 4 in game 1 yesterday. Valdez has his sign from Martin Maldonado, and the game's first pitch is fouled off. Tim Anderson, Kitty, a guy with all kinds of presence, style, has some swag about him.
Yeah, star power. They have Anderson and Abreu. The Astros have a lineup full of them.
The 0-1 pitch from Valdez. Breaking ball bounced foul. One of the highlights of the 2021 regular season was provided by Anderson. Everything was perfect about the Field of Dreams game, and he ended it with a 9th inning home run.
That was one of my highlights of the whole season. Gosh, what a great venue and a great idea. Hopefully we'll see it some more in the future, but you could tell that was right up his alley. He liked being on that stage, Bob.
The 0-2 taken low. Speaking of the Field of Dreams game, back and forth between the White Sox and the Yanks, and here's the way it ended: into the cornfield. Wearing those old throwback uniforms appropriately. Here's a bouncing ball toward the middle. Correa to his left, scoops it up, throws on the run, and gets it. Valdez appreciates it.
Well, you'll see a lot of that if he's pitching well, Buck. Ground ball. Gets a lot of ground ball outs. See, he stuck out his glove, but said, no, let Correa have it. Nice play going to the glove side and having to throw kind of against his body.
Yeah, the ability to finish that play. A lot of people can get the glove to that ball, but to finish it from that angle. That's why I said before the game, those 7 guys, great offensive players, but the difference is the way they play defense and the way they run the bases.
Here's Luis Robert, 2 for 3 yesterday, and he was hit by a pitch. He takes high. He played only 68 games this year because of a hip flexor injury, but in those 68 games, he hit .338 with 13 home runs. 2-0. A bold statement by his manager, Tony La Russa. He says that Robert has Mike Trout type talent.
We'll see.
That's saying something. And, you know, Tony doesn't use those words callously, so it gets my attention.
He spanks the 2-0 pitch into center field for the game's first hit. So he's 3 for 4 in the series.
Again, the White Sox approach pays off there. He did not try to pull the ball. He broke his bat, but he was willing to try to go the other way and gets rewarded with a little bloop single.
That's what's so tough. You go over and approach to a pitcher before a game, and everybody's got it down. And somewhere between the on-deck circle and the batter's box, your emotions takes over, and you get away from it. That's a good sign for the White Sox here.
Here's Abreu. Appropriately, he drove in the White Sox only run in game 1. He is an RBI machine. Knocked in 117 this year.
Ooh. Yeah, and I think yesterday Robert tried to steal second, got thrown out, which was a big play. You're trying to steal against one of the best throwing catchers, and the White Sox don't run that much. They depend on putting the ball in play with the bat.
One reason to try and keep him close, not just to avoid the stolen base, but to keep the double play as a greater possibility, especially with Abreu at the plate. Grounded into 28 double plays this year, most in the majors. Not a shift, obviously, but Altuve tucked towards second base. That finds the hole. Into right field it goes. Robert's going to stop at second base. Back-to-back singles, 2 on with 1 out.
Bob, that's the approach you were talking about there. Not trying to do too much. You and Jim, just, your ego's got to be taken out of this situation. Hey, here's what he's given me. Here's what I'm going to take. You try to pull that ball, it's one of those 28 double plays, Bob.
Well, with Robert being held on and Altuve near second base, there was a chasm between first and second, and Abreu went that way. Switch hitter Yasmani Grandal is in the cleanup spot and takes a strike. The plate umpire is Chris Conroy. The crew chief Tom Hallion is at first. Vic Carapazza at second. Chad Fairchild at third. 6 umpires in a postseason game. Adam Hammery has the right field line. Lance Barrett in left. A ball and a strike.
The challenge now for Valdez and Maldonado behind the plate, that's the yin and yang, or the competition between pitcher and catcher. Okay, they're taking my curveball the other way. Now we might see a few fastballs in on the hands, because obviously the White Sox have done their homework, and that's what they're going to try to do.
Grandal is a very patient hitter. The lowest swing rate, flip side highest take rate of any hitter in the majors. That hit him. Even he wasn't sure, but Chris Conroy was, and the bases are loaded.
Well, that happens as a left-hand pitcher. When you have a big curveball, you'll end up hitting some right-hand hitters in the back foot. There's an example of it. So a great opportunity here. You mentioned, Buck, how important it is for Giolito to get off to a good start, but for this lineup to get off to a big start against Valdez.
Yeah, I think the White Sox need to fire a little salvo here and remind people this is a really good club, and you hate to come into these series. You've had a lot of time off. You got a lot of anxiety. Then all of a sudden you play a little bit of a stinker yesterday. Didn't get a good start. And you're dying to go out there and show everybody what kind of club you got. This is the way you get everybody's feet on the ground. It's like a prize fight. You spent yesterday throwing a lot of punches. Now the White Sox have to punch back.
Dusty Baker told us before the game that Martin Maldonado is especially attentive to Valdez. Tries to calm him down, keep him within himself. So there was a conference on the mound, as you just saw, and Eloy Jimenez steps in, hit .249 for the year with 10 home runs, and fouls the first pitch off.
And Dusty gave us that little look like, and there's another direction he can go with that conversation too, and he needs some tough love. I love this guy. I think this guy's one of the better defensive catchers, callers of the game. The guy that you can really trust. He's like a big pillow back there. Takes a lot of pride in putting down good fingers.
Valdez had the highest ground ball rate among all starting pitchers in the majors this year. He could use a DP ball here. Bases loaded, 1 out. Yoan Moncada is on deck. One and one. There it is, and not even close. Ground ball, Altuve smothers it, flips to second. They get the out there as a run scores.
Buck, you like those productive outs, don't you?
Yeah, that's for this time of year. You know, the productive outs are what scores runs. I love the fact that you're looking for the backdoor throw here from Correa, but you got a third base coach in McEwen that got Abreu to stop right there on the bag. A lot of guys, you take a big turn here at third base, thinking that ball might have went through. Shortstop's going to pop you back door there. Good job stopping him early.
So Robert scores the game's first run. Abreu to third. Jimenez on the force out is the runner at first.
I don't know how much you've seen of Moncada, but everybody talks of this guy should be a star, an all-star.
That's what they look like. I don't know about the rest of it. First time I saw him in the big leagues, I looked around the dugout and I said, can we have one of those? That's what they look like.
Get a 40-acre field full of them.
I mean, he's strong. He's just play a lot of positions, switch hitter.
The 1-0 pitch to him. Tapped foul. One thing Moncada will have to do if he's to become a true star, cut down on the strikeouts, even in this era. 2018, he led the majors, fanning 217 times.
That shouldn't happen as a switch hitter, Bob.
No, it shouldn't.
You know, with the breaking ball coming towards you, when you see a switch hitter striking out that much, that's something he needs to correct.
Some improvement this year, but it's all relative. 157 strikeouts. In there, 1-2.
This is the play we're talking about. You want to earn your money as a third base coach. You got to make this call early because he doesn't know if that ball's going through. If he rounds that bag big, that throw's going to come right there, and he's going to make a cheap out there. Outs on the bases. Don't want to make them this time of year.
Lots of orange in the stands. Fans making noise, hoping Valdez can close out the inning, which he does. They score one. They strand two. Giolito to the mound. Astros come up after half an inning, trailing 1-0.
Well, you hear the applause for Jose Altuve, but he'll face an imposing presence on the mound. 6'6", Lucas Giolito, and White Sox people will say he has pitched much better than that record. 4-pitch pitcher, has a big overhand curveball, and we'll look at how he's changed his motion where he gets the hand out of his glove almost like a catcher. So as you said, Buck, they need a good start from him these first couple innings to take the crowd out of it.
Yeah, you'd like to see a shutdown inning. They put a ducket up there in the top to kind of get a little momentum that way. So you'd say, well, it's just the first of 9. I think there's a little message you'd like to see delivered here in the top of the bottom of the first.
Altuve hit .278 for the year. Swings on the first pitch and fouls it back. He has 18 postseason home runs. But whenever we mention that, you have to put it in some kind of context. Babe Ruth hit 15 only in the World Series. Mickey Mantle hit 18 only in the World Series. Takes nothing away from modern players, but they've got 3 levels of playoffs plus a wild card game in some instances. So it's different.
I wonder when they first signed him, if they ever thought somebody would be mentioning his name along with Babe Ruth.
But, you know, he had, Kitty and I were here when he had a 3 home run game.
Yeah.
And going off the top of my head, Ruth did it twice in the World Series. Reggie, of course, did it in the World Series. Albert Pujols did it in the World Series for the Cardinals against the Rangers, so he's in that kind of company. The 1-1 from Giolito. Breaking ball for a strike.
Yeah, there's that good overhand hook. And he also uses, we'll call it a slurve. It's kind of a hybrid breaking ball that he hasn't used that much in past years. So he's got 4 solid pitches. Oh, that was that looked like the changeup.
Yep.
You see the fingers on the ball. It's kind of like a palm ball changeup. Good shot by our camera crew. That'll tell you a lot about what the pitch is going to be.
2-2.
Every time I see Altuve, I think about a guy like Pedroia even. Like the first time he walks in a locker room and you're a guy on the field and they go, this is the prospect they were talking about? This guy? This guy? I thought about how great a scouting job with Pedroia to take that guy early in the
Hey,
draft.
take it easy. The Altuves, the Pedroias, the David Ecksteins, the Fernando
God bless
Piñas,
them.
the Freddie Pateks.
That's what makes our game great.
These are my guys.
Exactly.
Right.
And the 2-2 pitch. Stays alive, getting a tiny piece of it. By the way, don't want to shortchange the Panda. Pablo Sandoval had a 3-home-run game in the World Series about a decade ago for the Giants.
And don't shortchange the short guys, because my hero was Bobby Shantz at 5'6" and won the 1952 MVP.
And you turned that around going 6'5".
Right.
You see the pitch he just fouled off? That's the difference between the minor leagues and the big leagues a lot. You make a really good pitch there and he ticks it off. And now you got to make it again. Now you got to make it again. You know, they tick off those really tough pitches to really good hitters.
Giolito gets him. Prior to that, he had not had much success against Altuve, who coming into this game was 3 for 10 against him with 2 home runs.
Well, let's take a look. Courtesy of StatCast, powered by Google Cloud, the 4-seamer. That's the over-the-top fastball, changeup. I think that pitch was the slider. It's kind of like a slurve, and then he has the big overhand spike curveball that he blends in there as well.
Now Giolito has to face another guy who's punished him, Michael Brantley. Brantley is DHing today. Yordan Alvarez is in left field.
Buck, I know as a manager you can see this, but I always look at the eyes of a player. I mean, I could tell the other night with Evaldi, with the fierce look, and look at Giolito, you could tell when a guy is locked in.
There's a little bit of a purpose there. It's called, the old scouts used to call it a good face. Look at his face. You think he's ready to compete? Yeah, it may not work out. Who knows? Right. This is the best players in the world that have to offer. But it's not because he's not ready to compete.
Right. Pours strike 2 in there. Brantley has faced Giolito 12 times, 6 for 12 with a couple of home runs. Just a great professional hitter. Almost like a metronome.
Jim, did you know when a guy was in the box that hits you well statistically?
Oh, yeah. I knew before he got in the box. I knew the day before. How about that?
Well, he puts both Altuve and Brantley away. Brantley doesn't strike out much. The rare hitter in modern baseball who walks more often than he strikes out, only 53 times this year in more than 500 plate appearances.
See, now I think that's what they call the slider, which is a pitch that he didn't have. It's really more of a hybrid breaking ball. And the Astros may not have seen that much from Giolito in the past times they faced him.
I think they may have saw that same stat we saw, 3%. Well, he broke it out here in the first inning for 2 strikeouts. Give me a little something different to think about in the dugout between at bats.
Ball 1 to Bregman. Limited to 91 games this year by a left quad strain. So his numbers are more modest than what we're accustomed to.
I remember the first time I saw him in the College World Series playing for LSU, and I just kind of, it was during our season, I turned to somebody, I go, who's this guy? Where's he going to be in the draft? And they go, you like him? I go, baseball player.
Yeah.
Just a baseball player. That's what caught your attention. And somebody said, well, how do you quantify that? Well, your eyes tell you that he's a baseball player. He runs the bases. He's got alert eyes. The game doesn't catch him by surprise. And he's got pretty good skills.
Tampa Bay's got a roster full of them.
Yep. That's why they're playing when the leaves are turning color.
How impressive are those Rays? 4th lowest payroll in the majors. Yet again, 100 wins.
We were in Baltimore. I used to say that the Rays really eliminated a lot of excuses for front offices, because you can do it if you know who you are and you stay true to it.
Same division, obviously, as the Yankees and Red Sox, whose resources are much greater.
And all 4 teams, 4 teams won 90 games plus that in that division. So let's don't compare divisions.
The 1-2 to Bregman. Did he get him? No.
Ooh, wow.
Tom Hallion, the crew chief.
That's a toughest call for a base umpire, I think. But of course, I'm a pitcher. I think when the bat comes off your shoulder, you intended to swing. And that's supposed to be the rule. So
no,
let's
it's
take a
not.
look at it. Yes, it is. Steve Palermo, yeah, that's a strike.
Oh, well, that's a strike.
Steve Palermo said if the batter intends to swing, then we call it a swing. Well, he intended to swing.
The late, great Steve Palermo.
Yes.
One of the best umpires of his time. The 2-2.
Buck is being very silent on
Well,
that check
it's
swing.
one of the things that I've talked about. Is I think it'd take 20 seconds after the 7th inning. Each manager should have a replay on a check swing. Like how many games are being decided. It's not fair to the umpires. It's a hard thing.
It is a hard
Because just
call.
about every replay looks like he goes. I just think after the 7th inning, maybe just postseason, that you should be able to go to replay on a check swing. Okay, I'm done.
We'll take it up with the rules committee in the offseason. And the count holds at 2-2.
Might be why I'm not on it anymore.
Well, Timmy McCarver, who caught the great Steve Carlton, would always tell the first base umpire before the game, be alert for check swings, because lefty would get a lot of strikeouts on that slider on check swings.
Valdez yielded a run in the top of the 1st. As you see, Giolito with a wide arsenal. Another 2-2 pitch. He strikes out the side. All 3 of them swinging. Good start for the folks from the south side on hand.
Message delivered.
Wearing those White Sox jerseys in a sea of orange. Giolito and the Sox up by 1 after 1. The American League Division Series is brought to you by Good Sam Rentals. Travel America with Good Sam, and by Good Sam RV Parks, America's largest campground network. And this MLB Network telecast is presented by Geico. Switch to Geico for more ways to save. Andrew Vaughn starts it in the top of the 2nd. He hit .235 with 15 homers. Finished the year in a big-time slump. 9 for his last 79.
Jim, I always like when you're looking at left-handed starters that may come up through your system. You always ask yourself, how are they going to defend themselves against right-handed hitters? Because up here, sometimes you're going to see 8 or 9. The lineups are constructed where you can flip them around, and this is a great example of a guy who can defend himself against right-handed hitters.
Like that, yeah. Yeah, much quicker pace that he had in the 1st inning. Probably got a little counseling from his catcher and worked the ball inside instead of down and away. There's that good overhand curveball, that good 12-6 spin on the inside part of the plate, not the outside.
So now the switch hitting second baseman, Leury Garcia. 0 for 3 yesterday in game 1. In the first half of this season, defining that as before the All-Star break, the White Sox were 54-35, just 37-33 after the break, but there was no pressure on them. They were the only team in the American League Central to play over 500. and they finished 13 games ahead of second place Cleveland.
Yeah, and I listen, and I've heard that. I mean, what are they supposed to do? They play in a division that's not as good as the other ones. Does that make them less than? I mean, it is what it is. But I think they've been pointing everything towards these 5 games. They've earned that.
Yeah, I think you as a manager, when you had that big a lead, would make sure your players were rested and everything organized the same way, right?
To a point. And I got to tell you, believe me, Tony knows where the buttons are on all these players at this point, and they know when it's time to go. And just because they lost a game yesterday doesn't mean that they necessarily aren't good enough to compete. They are. This is a good baseball team. It's only going to get better.
3-1 to Garcia with Adam Engel on deck. The highest combined age of opposing managers in any postseason series, 77 and 72. Connie Mack managed until he was 87. First half of the 20th century. 1900 and 1950 with the Philadelphia A's. 2 quick strikeouts and 3 in a row going back to the last out of the first for Valdez as Garcia swings and misses. But you got to mention, when you talk about Connie Mack, he had job security. He owned the team.
Right.
So even as he got up there in age, who was going to tell him to leave?
Right.
I've got a few owners I wish would try to manage. I can tell you that they did.
Yeah.
I think everybody should walk in somebody's shoes one time, huh, Bob?
Yeah, that's the truth.
Well, Jerry Reinsdorf always said that one of his great regrets was firing or allowing the firing of Tony La Russa in the 1980s. And Tony almost immediately wound up in Oakland, and the A's, late 80s, early 90s, were one of baseball's great powers.
I don't know if anybody's impacted the art of managing more than Tony La Russa. People are still, they copied him for years. And they'll never admit it, but they did.
Well, he changed bullpen usage, many different things. Jerry Reinsdorf always said, I'd love to bring him back. And he found the perfect situation. A team ready to win, short-term commitment to Tony La Russa in his late 70s. So far, so good. The 0-2 pitch. Valdez doesn't quite finish him off as Engel taps it foul.
And just a quick word about what goes on between innings, between pitcher and catcher. If you watch Valdez this inning, he's working quicker. He's throwing on the inside half of the plate, right? Because he knows those guys are going to try to go the other way, and it's paying off.
I agree. I was just sitting here watching. I think he might have had him up the runway. Hey, let's go. You're not being you. Get after it. Compete. You set the tempo.
They'll throw to first to make it official. And as Giolito did in his first inning of work, Valdez in his second frame strikes out the side. 1-0 after an inning and a half on the Good Sam ALDS telecast on MLB Network, presented by Geico. Welcome back to the Good Sam ALDS telecast on MLB Network, presented by Geico. Bottom of the second. Alvarez, Gurriel, and Correa for the Astros, who trail it 1-0 as they lead the series 1-0. Alvarez had an RBI double and a long home run in game 1.
Buck, I think Jimenez in left field might need a ticket.
Well, he can hear everything being said out there for sure.
I mean, he is playing deep.
He's trying to defend that seam a little bit. You know, I know we got a left-handed hitter up, but
with power,
you got to figure anything he hits up in the air, the other way is going to be in the cheap seats anyway.
Big cut and a miss. His double yesterday went in that direction.
Yeah.
You defend the big part of the park. You know, most times that ball's hit to the outfielder's right. It's going to be a home run or off the wall anyway, so you might as well get somewhere where you can impact the play. Kind of like Fenway Park, except this is easier to hit balls to left field than Fenway.
Giolito struck out the side in the first. His 0-2 to Alvarez is down and in.
Of course, if you look at the Astros left fielder, I'd like kind of feed off. So he's up there in a little different area. You know, the hitter might change who it is, you got to ask yourself, okay, anything over my head's a double or a home run anyway. Why don't I try to cut off the single? So every club that comes in here plays it differently. I tend to copy the Astros if I came in, Jim. What do you think? How would you play it here?
Well, I'll make a point about a left-hand pitcher, because Alvarez, 18 times he started when Valdez starts. He's not what you'd call a particularly good outfielder, but he's only had 6 chances because Valdez throws a lot of ground balls. So I always like my outfielder in the opposite field to play shallow and take away the flare.
That's what we did in a place like Coors Field. Heck, the ball carries everywhere. The ones that kill you there are the balls that fall in front of you.
Right.
Giolito's 2-2 pitch to Alvarez. Runs the count out full. Minute Maid Park has a lot of quirks about it. There are about 24 different ground rules, including if the ball should strike off some of the roofing, as it did, by the way, at Tropicana Field last night.
Yeah.
It hit Zone C, and Nelson Cruz was awarded the home run.
They had a lot of problems with that roof, even the home team last night.
And the 3-2.
You know from being a left-hand hitter, and I was a left-hand, that pitch is so hard to lay off. 3-2, you don't want to take strike 3, and here it comes boring in on your thighs.
I don't know if he had swung at that pitch if he didn't have that shin guard on.
Yeah.
That shin guard allows a lot of people to swing at that. Some people think they should take all that armor off and make them hit like the pitcher has to pitch.
Yeah, and
I know how you feel.
I'm one of those some people. Thank you very much.
A little pop into foul ground with the shift on, racing over and unable to make the play is Moncada.
Wow.
He got to it, but couldn't quite clutch it.
And he took a hard slide into that pad. I would hope he doesn't have a knee injury or a foot. That was a great effort. And then when he slid, he kind of skidded feet first.
He had to cover all kinds of ground. He was near second base, came sprinting over, got leather on it, but couldn't hold it.
It's like he caught a spike and grabbed.
Wow. I mean, that's got knee injury written all over her foot. You see how he skidded and slipped right there.
And then jammed both feet into the barrier.
That's one of the issues you see a lot with the shifts. We saw it with Urshela, the great play he made with the Yankees. Is the guys are having to catch these balls on a dead run.
Yeah.
Luckily that's padded.
Urshela disappeared into the Rays dugout, the visiting dugout at Yankee Stadium in that game on the regular season's last weekend.
We're seeing so many of those plays, Bob, from the shifts. Not to say there's something wrong with it, but these guys are having to come so far on those pop-ups.
Well, I think there is something wrong with it, but yeah, you're right. He's the only guy over there, and what a great effort. If he's playing normal third base, he probably has time to get back there and catch it in a more normal fashion.
Oh, it's an easy play. He was at normal third base.
Yeah.
Shaken up, but staying in. According to StatCast, which did not exist when you were piling up victories for the Minnesota Twins and other teams.
Weather forecast is all that existed.
He covered 108 feet
really?
in pursuit of that ball. Speaking of the weather forecast, it's 86 degrees right now on a sunny October afternoon in Houston, but the roof is closed as it was for Game 1 yesterday, and the air conditioning is on. And another 3-2 pitch. Walked it.
Wow, that's some kind of at bat. Managers love that kind of at bat, don't they, Buck?
Yeah, you could see that coming after the long delay. You know, as much as you just kind of lose a feel for your pitch and your release point a little bit. That's of 90 feet that it was earned and won.
Yeah.
It brings up 37-year-old Yuli Gurriel. Had an off year in 2020 in the 60-game season, hit just .232. Bounces back to lead the American League at .319 this year. He was already a big deal star in Cuba when he arrived with the Astros 5 years ago at age 32 and embarked on a very successful major league career in America. That ball is hit at an odd angle toward Garcia. They get the force at second base, but they can't double Gurriel up.
And what they're going to ask now, the second baseman's thinking to himself, should I have thrown that ball to first base first? Because the base runner had to honor whether he was going to catch it in the air. That's what they're, at the end of the day, you kind of walk back, you go, did we get a look at the runner at first? He had to hold up. He could have thrown that ball to first base first and then went back to second. Is that being picky, Jim?
Not at all. Not at all. I think, Buck, what it points out is baseball is a slow-paced game, but when you're in the field, things happen in a hurry. You have to think ahead. All possibilities.
If he goes to first base there, he's got the double play.
No, that was a good pickup. No question about that.
Here's Correa.
That's why when you bring up Pete Rose's name, didn't have power, didn't have speed, didn't have an arm, didn't have range. He had such great baseball IQ. He'd make plays like that.
Joe Morgan would have thrown that ball to first.
Yeah.
But you can't quantify that. Where's that? It's got to be at the bottom of the scouting page. It says intangibles.
Joe Morgan was in the 99th percentile when it comes to baseball IQ. A ball and a strike to Correa. Speaking of all the numbers, Correa is really into analytics. Heard him being interviewed recently. He's talking about OPS plus and defensive runs saved and WAR. If I closed my eyes, I would have thought I was listening to Bill James.
Yeah. You know the one that I pay a lot of attention to before we try to sign a player or trade for a player, Bob, was GP, games played. Do they post up? Do they show up? Because you can have all these numbers when you play that are great, but guys that can post up and play, that's why Salvador Perez's year caught me so much by the eye to catch that many games and still hit that many home runs.
48 of them.
Games played.
Most ever by a primary catcher. Gurriel away from first, held by Vaughn, and a fastball is high. 3-1 to Correa.
Boy, so sharp in the first inning, and now, of course, the heart of the order, a little more. Yeah.
Did you read Anderson's lips, Buck or Kitty?
Yeah, you're not going to tell your infield mate, hey, you messed up there. It's like they're going to go, yeah, I know. But believe me, there'll be a conversation there.
Full count now to Correa, who at age 27 has a big payday coming. It's almost seemed like a foregone conclusion that this would be his last season in Houston, but recently the owner, Jim Crane, says we'll be in that bidding war up to a point. We'd love to keep him. The Astros led the major leagues in runs, team batting average, on-base percentage, contact rate, productive outs, moving runners along, sacrifice fly, getting guys home from third base with less than 2 outs. And as Dusty put it yesterday, yeah, we can hit the long ball, but sometimes we just stack pennies and they add up.
Exactly. It's a great way to put it. You used to hear that expression all the time in the dugout. Hey, get him in a stretch. Put him in a stretch.
Yeah.
Put him in a stretch. Put some pressure on him.
Gurriel runs, but now he can slow up. It's ball 4.
Well, that's the one thing as a pitcher when you're facing a lineup like Houston, you just have to eliminate the base on balls. You can give up some solo home runs, but there's too many guys in this lineup. I mean, you're working down the end of the order, but you're looking at a guy that a lot of people have not heard much about that can get you 3 runs in a hurry.
Kyle Tucker was sizzling in September. And there you see the final numbers he posted. Hitless with a pair of strikeouts in game 1.
Bob, you see Grandal giving signs out in front of home plate, and people say, "What? First and second? What kind of signs he giving?" He's basically telling the infielders where he's throwing a third or second on the stolen base. And people say, "Well, why is that important?" Well, if the other team knows you're throwing a ball to second base,
that's going to go through, and the Astros are going to tie the game. Here comes Gurriel, and it's a 1-1 ball game in the second.
Well, Buck, that's why I don't like the shift. Pitches outside, they're shifting them around to pull. If you play them where Abner Doubleday put them, that's a 6-4-3 double play, but credit Tucker for going the other way.
Well, you know what's gotten my attention, too, is how many base hits already in the very early part of this game have been the other way.
Right.
And you see a lot of it this time of year. Guys aren't involved with individual stuff. What's the team need me to do? Let's embrace what they're giving me and what they're not giving me. Nobody's chasing my numbers. They're chasing what the team needs, Bob.
Giolito struck out the side in the first. In this inning, walk, force out, walk, RBI single. 2 on with 1 out. And the pitching coach, Ethan Katz, makes a trip to the mound. Katz is an interesting story himself. He was the pitching coach at Harvard Westlake High School in the Los Angeles area between 2009 and 2013. And who did he have there? Jack Flaherty, Max Fried, and the guy he just counseled, Lucas Giolito.
I assume he won the state championship.
If he didn't, he'd be back teaching social studies. Here's Chas McCormick. And this one bounces away as the runners move up. La Russa indicating we'll play back. We're not going to bring the infield in this early in the game.
I think that's one of the more fascinating things is your infield depth, Jim. You know, where do you play them? What inning is it? What's my bullpen like?
See that spin there? That I wanted to ask you about that. How do you determine right now whether to play
there's about 8 factors. My bullpen versus yours. The guys hitting behind him, where you are in the batting order. Your speed of the runner at third. There's about 4 or 5 different things.
I know Gene Mock was a manager that always brought the infield in.
Some guys did.
Yeah.
They did that in Colorado. Said to heck with it. We're trying to save runs. Ripken has a theory that if you do the angles right, you're really not giving up that. It was fascinating to hear Cal talk about playing in.
The pitch a moment ago was scored as a wild pitch as the runners moved up. 1-1 to McCormick. Dusty liked him in center field and hitting 8th today rather than Jake Myers, who was 2 for 4 yesterday, because he thinks McCormick handles breaking pitches from a right-hander better than Myers generally does. Giolito's 1-1 pitch. Foul back, and here's Tom Verducci.
Yeah, if you notice, at third base, Yoan Moncada is playing on the grass. Similar situation in game 1, 3rd inning. Runner on third base, less than 2 outs. The White Sox had him playing behind the bag, and that allowed Jose Altuve not only to get a bigger lead, but to get the jump and play the contact play, running on contact. It'd be a lot harder for Correa to score with Moncada rolled up onto the grass.
Really good observation, Tom. McCormick steps out. First base is open, but Giolito is ahead on the count, 1-2. Martin Maldonado, who hit only 172 for the year, is on deck.
You see some of these guys, you know, not in the big leagues much, where they play the infield halfway. That's usually a manager can't make up his mind. Yeah. You know, he's trying to kind of cover himself. You either in or you back. Make up your mind. Corners are in, infield's back.
McCormick drives one to left. It could bring a run home. Jimenez makes the catch. The throw to the plate, not in time. And it's 2-1 Astros. Correa scores. Tucker to third on the sacrifice fly from McCormick.
Well, now those base on balls and the decision at second base to go to second and kind of are jumping up and hurting the White Sox.
And I'll tell you a little thing. Giolito backing up home plate saved him a run here because they're tagging at second too. If he's not backing up here, this runner going to third is going to score too. So
pitcher's job.
Not going to show up in the stat sheet, but he just saved a run right there by backing up the plate.
Maldonado swings on the first pitch, drives it to deep right. Back goes Engel on the warning track, and he makes a running catch. Maldonado gave it a ride. Engel tracked it down. Astros settled for 2 and lead it 2-1 after 2. You can bet on the MLB postseason with a risk-free wager up to $1,000 at BetMGM.
I got to tell you, Bob, I chuckle when I heard people say that Tony La Russa may not be able to get along with Tim Anderson. It may be a problem. Come on, man. Do you think this guy's been dealing with great personalities like Tim is? I mean, he's not going to suppress something or try to.
He had Ricky Henderson in Oakland. He had Jose Canseco.
Yeah, Tony's made a living out of that. So is Dusty.
First pitch swinging to deep short. Correa corrals it, but doesn't get him. Even out of the right side of the box, Anderson, tough to get on a play like that.
What does that feel like? Which part of that? To throw like that from the hole or to run like that?
Both.
Jim, could you tell me?
Yeah.
Which one is that? How's that feel?
Let's see. I don't know.
Wow. That's fun to watch.
I would guess we'd have to go back to Sean Dunston.
Good call.
Who got drafted ahead of Doc Gooden, and what he heard when they said why, because he had a better arm.
Correa led all shortstops this year in defensive runs saved, and that's a difference between these clubs. Generally, the Astros are a better defensive team than the White Sox. Luis Robert had a single in the first.
So now the White Sox may be adjusting. Anderson pulled that ball for a base hit because he sees that Valdez and Maldonado are working the inner half of the plate.
Game of constant adjustments. You kind of see what's going on, and it's almost from pitch to pitch. Okay, Jimmy, you turn him loose here? 3-0?
Well, I would ask you that. I don't know much about.
Oh, yeah. You tell a good hitter. You tell. I would. Not make me right or wrong, but in this ballpark, I might turn you loose.
Really?
If I'm a right-handed hitter.
Okay.
I think you already know who you can trust and you can't trust. Who's going to have an emotional at bat and who's not by this time of the season.
And Robert walks on 4 pitches. Here's Tom.
You mentioned that first inning single by Robert. Brings me back to the key adjustment he made. It's a guy last year who hit .202 against fastballs, and you could see his setup last year, very neutral stance, feet even with the plate. What he did was he opened up his stance and he improved the angle of his bat to get the bat on plane sooner. And the key here, according to White Sox hitting coach Frank Menachino, is watch the shoulders. Last year he would over-rotate the shoulders with that neutral stance. So by opening up with the shoulders open, watch the shoulders here. He stays on the baseball. There's no over-rotation with the shoulders. Sounds like a small adjustment for a guy who's got every tool in the box, but that has paid big dividends. He's hit almost 400 this year against fastballs. You can see right there. And you saw the way Valdez did not want to challenge him with a fastball throughout that at-bat.
And Tom, the other big difference between 2020 and 2021, as we looked at that split screen, actual humans sitting behind home plate. So 2 on, nobody out for Abreu, who had a single in the first. This is the 5th time this season when he's hit as many as 30 home runs and topped 100 RBIs. Only one player in White Sox history has done that more often. The first ballot Hall of Famer Frank Thomas, who did it 8 times. Brent Strom, the pitching coach, went to the mound. Now Valdez back to work.
Well, Abreu, Buck, and I know you know from seeing him, is one of these hitters that even with first and second and potential to hit a 3-run homer will take the ball the other way.
Yeah, I noticed Gurriel's really gotten over in the hole. He got beat over last time. The first at bat, he was pretty much right behind the runner. This time he's really over in the gap there, trying to cut that slot off.
Yeah, but in the first, he had to hold him because second base wasn't occupied.
That's the beauty of putting people out there. Yet you make the defense do different things. Constant pressure, productive outs when you do make them.
So Abreu, as you see, he heats up when there's traffic on the bases, especially with runners in scoring position and 2 outs. Here, 2 on, nobody out. Anderson at second, Robert at first. And the 0-2 pitch, down and in, and blocked by Maldonado.
You ever had a guy that the ball grazes his foot, but he doesn't tell anybody so that he continued to hit?
Maybe he did that there. It looked like it hit him.
That's what I'm saying.
Yeah.
I brought up that I wouldn't want him to go to first base.
You know, if it hits you on a bounce, that's a hit by pitch.
Yeah, right. Yeah, I might argue there as a pitcher, say, hey, I hit him, put him
get
on
him,
first.
exactly.
I don't want to face him.
Did he check? He did.
The strength that hitters have to hold the bat up like that.
You remember when Albert Bell was hit by a pitch once and refused to go to first base?
I think it was intentional too. He wanted to hit the guy instead of going at first. Maldonado's as good as it is. It's like having a big pillow back there.
He's a Gold Glover.
It just hits and doesn't ever carry him off to the side, it seems like.
Two pitch with Grandal on deck. Struck him out. 5th strikeout for Valdez.
Big pitch on his signature pitch. There again, you're going to see the spin of, look at the rotation on that ball. Of course, it's a lot of hype when you hear 2,800 RPMs. That ball only rotated about 15 times from pitcher to home, but boy, did it have great rotation.
Jim, you know the guys with the real good curveballs, you can hear them.
Yeah.
If you're hitting, you can hear it come in there. Donnie Cooper, the pitching coach for the White Sox before this year and before last year, had the best curveball, one of the best I've ever seen. You could hear it. He'd sit in the dugout just popping it, and it'd come out of his hand. You could hear the spin.
0-1 now to Grandal, who was hit by a pitch in the first. Shot back to the mound. Valdez has it. He gets the out at first, and they turn the double play. The out at second, I should have said. And the back end of the double play at first. But you get the idea, and that gets him out of trouble. Top of the order for the Astros in the bottom of the third. Altuve, Brantley, and Bregman. They lead at 2-1, looking to take a 2-0 lead in the best-of-5 series. Lucas Giolito was 11-9 for the year, better in the season's second half. He threw a complete game, a rarity these days, in July against the Astros at Chicago, a 10-1 win. And you may recall he had a no-hitter in 2019 for the Sox against the Pirates.
Yeah, when he started taking the ball out of his glove a little sooner and getting it up in the throwing position, which for pitchers just fielding ground balls is the best exercise to find that. Ethan Katz's pitching coach helped him change it instead of like dragging the arm down below the waist. So now he gets it up almost like a catcher.
That's why, you know, when you're talking to infielders and evaluating them, there's three parts of it. You got to catch the ball, you got to transfer the ball, and you got to throw the ball. And
right.
It's kind of similar with pitchers. You know, a lot of things are lost in the transfer and getting your arm into the position you want to get it in.
And a lot of it really in fielding for a pitcher anyway comes from footwork. You know, a little shuffle step, get the ball out.
People ask about why Derek Jeter made so many errors. I think close to 60 in Greensboro. He had a footwork problem. And once the footwork problem was solved, the rest of it came into play.
1-2 pitch to Altuve. Poked foul. By the way, mentioning Giolito's complete game against the Astros earlier this year, there were exactly 50 complete games in the major leagues this year out of more than 2,400 total games.
Jim, your thoughts?
Well, it's not the pitcher's fault. It's the way they're trained, and they're certainly physically capable. But if they're not trained that way in the minor leagues, they're just 3 innings and out, then they're never going to be in shape to pitch a complete game very often.
2-2 to Altuve.
We used to talk when we played the Astros how important their first hitter each inning was. It's like if you can get that first hitter out, and I know that's true, that falls under the no kidding, but especially with these guys, because all of a sudden the wheels start turning as soon as there's somebody out there, because very few guys get on first base that can't push the envelope on the bases.
He lays off, full count.
He got him to swing at it the first at bat, but and there's always that danger, as Tom pointed out with Altuve, you know, being the pull hitter, is he is so quick on that fastball inside.
Well, we used to talk a lot about guys whose arms aren't that long. You know, the short arm guys. You're talking about Sean Casey. You're talking about Altuve. It's hard to get in there.
Yeah.
And with something they can't keep fair.
Rolled toward third. It's a fair ball, and Altuve is thrown out by Moncada.
Boy, you can see the way he was throwing that ball rather casually, but moving slowly. As I think it's the effects of that sliding into the padded fence down left field. Notice the footwork there. Knows he has plenty of time, avoids the base, off balance throw, and then kind of coasts to a stop.
So now Brantley, 311 this year. Almost annually, you can put him down for something between 300 and 315.
He's one of my favorite
Quiet, not
players,
demonstrative in any way. Respected throughout the game, and especially in his own clubhouse.
Good genes with his dad being a player.
Remember me talking about baseball player? That's the greatest accolade I can pay a guy. In our clubhouse, if somebody said he's a baseball player, Brantley's a baseball player. He also has good stats, and that's a guy really trying to frame a pitch that you can't frame.
One and one. You know, all the talk around baseball these days is about velocity, and Giolito can throw hard, gets it up there in the mid-90s, but he's got that changeup and that curveball. Valdez and others, we're seeing this is kind of a breaking ball showcase in this series.
McCullers last night or yesterday.
Yeah, Lance McCullers with that great curveball. Hits solidly to center field. Robert on the run, can't get there. Brantley is going to try for two, and he's going to make it standing up.
playing a little bit over in right center field area. Had a long way to come for that. He's playing him straight up or the other way. Obviously, he catches it, but
he looked like he wanted to dive for a moment and said, "No, I better." Would have been an inside the Parker maybe if he tried to dive for it. You see right there, he pulls up.
The ball got by him, but it scored as a double, and it brings up Bregman.
You're Dusty Baker. What do you want him to do here? You want him to drive the run in the other way? You want him to weakly hit a ground ball to second? Do you want him to bunt? I mean, you got a lot of different options here. I mean, there's a 1 out, so it doesn't really matter. But, you know, a lot of times guys still try to make productive outs. I see so many times where you are in the batting order with nobody out. You know, with 1 out, obviously the whole situation changes here. But a lot of it has to do with who's on deck, too, and what they can do behind him. They've got such versatile hitters. They can do a lot of things with a bat.
Dusty with a nice Astro color coordinated mask. This ball's off the fist, but it's well placed. It drops in. Brantley will be held at third base, and they'll have runners at the corners with 1 out as Engel fires it back in.
Fastball right down the chute. Bregman shoots it the other way. White Sox missed the cutoff, man. They're airmailed it into home.
As much as we bragged on Giolito, he's standing right beside the plate. That ball gets by him, you got issues.
That's right. You're disappointed you gave up a hit, but you got a job to do there.
So now trailing by a run. And with 2 on and 1 out, Giolito has to deal with Alvarez, who walked in the second.
And a big shift around to the right field side, leaving that hole open.
On the first pitch, he pops it up. Moncada gives way to Grandal, who clutches it for the second out. That was almost a roof scraper.
Yeah. It's one of the issues you have when you play this time of year with so many more people, especially this year, that you can't hear someone say, "I got it," or whatever. You know, there's got to be some eye contact. There's got to be seeing somebody wave. That's why you see so many collisions this type of year. You can sit on the backfield and say, and it's going to work great in spring training, but the reality of the season is you can't hear.
That's a pitcher's job right there. He's got to go over there and even just touch one of the guys on the shoulder, and that'll stop him. Pitcher always has a place to be when there's a ball hit in the infield.
Now Gurriel hit into a force play his first time up. Fly ball to left. In comes Jimenez to take it, and the Astros strand 2. After 3, it remains 2-1 Houston. This is the Good Sam ALDS telecast on MLB Network, presented by Geico. Fourth inning of Game 2. Lucas Giolito and the White Sox trail the Astros in the series 1-0, and in the game 2-1. Framber Valdez deals to Jimenez, who hits it up the middle on the inning's first pitch for a leadoff single.
Had it played pronounced to pull. And Buck, it's interesting. We look back at the first 3 innings. You made a great point. If the Astros didn't make 2 good fielding plays in the first inning, the White Sox might have had 4 runs. If the White Sox didn't shift with Moncada and then Tucker, that cost them 2 runs.
Well, you know, they'll say, well, look at all the balls that he gets to that he wouldn't have, but the pop-up that he almost got injured on normally would have been caught. That a guy ended up at first base, and which led to the 2 runs eventually. So there's crime and punishment. You know, there's so much. You know, here's something you're going to do. Here's what you're going to get. Well, there's a reciprocal part of that too.
Ball 1 to Moncada. who struck out his first time.
You see him limping even when he steps out of the box. He's his
Jim,
feet are hurting.
Yeah, you picked up on it. The body language of him is not good right now. You can tell he's not all together there physically.
A ball slashed to first, fielded smartly by Gurriel, who steps on the bag. Now it's a tag play and a double play. Jimenez was stuck. Nothing he could have done about it. Gurriel is right on the bag. There's the first out. Now the force is removed. They got to run him down.
That's the long short hop. That's a tough play. You know, the clean hop, pretty easy play. The short hop close to your glove, it's easy play. The separator is that long short hop like that one, especially on this infield. I think this is the fastest, might be the fastest field, including turf, in the American League for sure. See how close that is to him? That's not a scoop. That's just a pick. That's what you call really good hands.
So it's a DP, 3 unassisted, as Gurriel never relinquished the ball.
You write that down very often?
No.
Wow.
Well, maybe on a line drive on a hit and run.
Ooh, fastball. And to your point, you talked about at the Open, that lineup not only hits, but they can pick it.
And they run the bases.
Yeah.
Really good combination.
1-2 to Vaughn, who struck out in the second.
That's a really hard play. I just wish everybody at home could go stand at first base, hop off like you do after with holding the guy on. All of a sudden you get this long short hop glove side. If he doesn't catch that ball, it's down in the corner, and we're thinking at the very worst it's second and third, or best, depending on how you're looking at it. Now they're going to the dugout.
Vaughn strikes out for the second time today. We go to the bottom of the fourth. Houston still in front, 2-1. Get a taste of victory. If there's a triple play in the postseason, Evan Williams Bourbon will give $1 million to one lucky fan. Enter the triple play sweepstakes at evanwilliamsdugout.com for a chance to win big.
I'm entering. I don't know about y'all.
Giolito to Correa to begin the bottom of the fourth. Carlos walked and scored the go-ahead run in the second inning. These teams have a postseason history. In 2005, the White Sox swept the Astros in the World Series. And that's right, kids. In 2005, the Astros were still in the National League. Could be a flip side of that this year if the Brewers were to reach the World Series. They got there as an American League team in 1982, lost in 7 to the Cardinals. Could get there as the National League pennant winners this year.
Wish everybody could have enjoyed the joy of playing in the Astrodome, Jim.
Oh, my goodness.
Just like playing on this board here.
You know, Pete Prieto, the clubhouse man, always kept a pot of espresso.
Because supposedly espresso.
You could fall asleep in there. It was like being at the opera.
Here comes Giolito's 56th pitch of the afternoon. Misses high and away, 2-2.
Bob, you know, I always thought they might change the name of Astros when they moved over here. I'm glad they didn't, though. Your thoughts?
Oh, it's part of the team's identity.
Yeah, I think
they were the Houston Colt 45s for the first few years, and then they moved into the new ballpark, and Space Center being in Houston made sense.
I think they made the right decision. They didn't consult us, right?
This, of course, is now Minute Maid Park. And that train out behind the left center field fence, replica of an 1860s steam locomotive. Before it became Minute Maid Park, its cargo was logs. Now it's loaded with oranges. The 3-2 pitch. Foul back.
Yeah, there's another example, Buck. These good hitters, they frustrate pitchers, and Giolito needs a clean inning. I mean, he came out of the chute, boom, and now he's got traffic every inning, and Correa foils a perfect pitcher's pitch.
That's a common theme I hear from young pitchers when they first come to big leagues. You know, these guys that tick that pitch off, that's strike 3 in the minor leagues, and you got to make it again. You got to make another quality pitch and not walking.
Here comes another one on 3-2, and he struck him out.
And that's why he's still in the big leagues, pitcher, because he can make it again.
4th strikeout for Giolito, his first since he struck out the side in the first. There's a full slate of postseason baseball coming up right after this game. First, you can head over to TBS for NLDS Game 1 of Braves and Brewers. And then at 7 Eastern, FS1 brings you Game 2 of Red Sox Rays. Then end your night back on TBS with NLDS Game 1, Dodgers and Giants.
How about that? The Dodgers and Giants playing in the postseason against one another. Never happened.
Kyle Tucker to the plate. You're right, it never happened technically, but I've had some fans ask me about this. In 1951, when Bobby Thompson hit one of the most famous home runs in baseball history, a best 2 out of 3, those counted as regular season games because they ended after 154. The schedule was length then, dead even. They played 2 out of 3. Same thing happened on the West Coast a little more than a decade later in 1962. The Dodgers and Giants tied. They played best 2 out of 3. The Giants won again, went to the World Series, lost to the Yankees as they had in 1951. But those technically were not postseason games.
Right.
They were regular season games to break the tie. Just as Bucky Dent's famous, if you're in New York, and infamous if you're in Boston, home run in 1978 was regular season game number 163. 2-0 to Kyle Tucker, who had an RBI single in the second. Had him out in front. There's that changeup.
High and tight, low and away, and get your off-speed pitches over when you're behind in the count. That's the key to pitching, and that's what Giolito did there. Fastball count, and look at this good changeup. Right on the outside corner. And the hitter way in front of it.
Looks like a fastball till about 2 feet in front of the plate.
Yeah.
In tight. Now back to the train. Okay. Some people say, what the heck is the train doing here? Well, when this ballpark opened in 2000, it was called the ballpark at Union Station. There was a train station that opened shortly after the turn of the 20th century and remained the main rail line through Houston until the 1970s, when they opened an Amtrak station in a different location. So this is a tribute to the old Union Station, 1860s style.
Wow, I did not know that.
I'm here to help.
Thank you.
The 3-1 pitch is in there, full count. Now,
another changeup.
When does the train move across the tracks?
Tell us, Bob.
When the Astros take the field, when the Astros hit a homer, and at the conclusion of a game the Astros win. Now, when something merely noteworthy happens, sometimes they just, the conductor or the engineer just kind of pulls the chain and sounds the whistle.
That's on my bucket list. I'd like to watch a game from up there. What a view he must have.
Either of the ballpark, or if he turns around, of Crawford Street.
I tell you, Tucker's got them befuddled. I mean, they were playing him straight pull, gets a base hit through the shortstop hole.
Yeah.
You can see how much more honest they are here. Now he's just hit a fastball down almost the third baseline. This is where the infielders, you're the infield coach, they look in at you and go, are you sure?
Yeah. Just play him the way Abner designed the game. That works fine.
Well, I always let the pitchers kind of dictate a little bit. Hey, here's what we got. How are you planning on pitching this guy? If you've got a pitcher that can't hit his spots, it's tough to play any type of tendencies.
Tucker lifts a pop on the changeup, back of the plate, and it stays in for Grandal.
Wow, what a great job of getting those off-speed pitches over in hitters' counts.
You know, there's an old expression that, you know, the guy hits fastballs through the minor leagues, through high school, college, and he gets to a certain level and he says, look at this, Jim, look at that changeup. Gosh,
Yeah.
that's beautiful. That's perfect. That's textbook.
See, it's in the middle of the plate, but you fool him with a change of speeds, not the location.
And the beauty is you take him off the sweet part of the bat. That ball hit down on the brand a little bit because he was thinking fastball. But there's an old expression that says, he calls home and says, Dad, don't sell the mules. I'll be home shortly. These guys are throwing changeups behind the count at this level.
Right.
Keep the mules in the barn, I guess.
Dad,
Or the corral.
I'll be home shortly. They broke out this thing here called a curveball. I remember the first level I reached. It was Mark Langston's slider. I saw it in Double-A and went, "Ooh!
Yeah.
If they all
Yeah.
got one of these, I'll be home with the mules too." You never reached that level, did you, Jim?
Oh, yeah.
He could hit, you know. Jim could hit.
Jim hit 8th in some orders. He told me I couldn't. I had to ask him. You know, Jimmy could hit. He could field.
16 Gold Gloves.
Did a lot of things to help yourself win a game. That's what hit me when Valdez made the great 1-4-3 play. Was his ability to throw, Jim.
Yep.
A lot of pitchers can catch a ground ball, but they can't get off a base to throw. You know, get a good base to throw off of to a base.
One and one to McCormick, who had a sacrifice fly in the second, which at the moment stands as the difference.
I can't believe I'm sitting here talking about anything fielding with pitchers with Jim Cott here. Okay,
Hey,
but Jim, one thing we used to tell him was try to get the flat ground to make a throw to base, because pitchers, their whole career they're throwing down a hill, then they catch a ball and they're throwing to a base either up the hill or off a side angle. Your thoughts?
Yeah, I agree. I mean, we'll get into it and see what Lucas does here on a 1-2 count.
Nice symmetry for Kitty, by the way. 16 Gold Gloves, 16 career homers. The 1-2 pitch.
Yeah, I think pitchers fielding, Buck, you know, as a manager, you did a lot of it in spring training, and then when the season starts, if you don't continue to do it as a pitcher, and then all of a sudden the ball is hit there, whoa, it's shock to your system. So I always, between starts, wanted to do a little fielding practice.
Well, we used to take the guys out once a homestand and just refresh some things.
There it is right there.
See the base he gets to throw off
Yeah.
of? He becomes an infielder. A lot of guys can't hit that second baseman in the chest there where Altuve can redirect the ball. That was perfect.
Full count to McCormick.
Big pitch. You know, you'd like to lead off the next inning with Maldonado.
Absolutely.
You really don't want to turn the order over. Even if he walks here and Maldonado makes an out to end the inning, you've turned the batting over, and now you've got the top of the order the next inning. It's a big pitch here for his outing. See how long he might go.
And he loses McCormick.
Yeah. Sometimes you get so tied up in scouting reports and you don't pitch to the scoreboard. And right there, as a pitcher, I'm saying, I got to make this guy hit the ball.
Well, I tell guys all the time in spring training, the scoreboard will tell you how to play the game.
Right.
You see Tony knows what's going on there, that now they've got to flip the order next inning or maybe this inning. Maldonado can ambush you if you're not careful. But the scoreboard tells you how to play the game. You know, it dictates what's going on and what certain things should be done as a hitter.
When Buck mentions the possibility of Maldonado ambushing you, he does have the dozen home runs to go with a rather feeble batting average. He's in there for his defense, which is excellent.
The great Robin Roberts, Hall of Fame pitcher, when they asked him, how do you pitch Willie Mays? He said, tell me the inning, the score, and the count. And that's what dictates what you do as a pitcher.
Well, Robin Roberts, like fellow Hall of Famer Bert Blyleven, gave up a very large number of home runs, but a disproportionate number were solo home runs in a game situation where it didn't hurt all that badly. Fastball misses, 2-0.
And as a manager, you almost rule out the stolen base here because you don't want to make the third out at second base here, trying to steal second base with Maldonado up. Both these guys are about 3 hitters ahead right now, maybe an inning ahead.
And pitchers should be too.
An indication maybe that Giolito is losing it. You set up the situation, Buck, not wanting to have the inning end even if he gets Maldonado, and he wasn't able to finish McCormick off, and now he falls behind Maldonado 3-0.
With Altuve on deck.
Yeah.
And the third time that Altuve's seen him. A lot of guys tell you that's where the red alert area is that third time around.
Count went full to the first 3 batters in this inning. Now 3-0 to the 4th hitter, Maldonado. He pours that one in there for strike 1. Pretty sure Maldonado was taking all the way, just threw the fastball right down the middle.
And I was sitting here thinking, what a great time to ambush there. Nobody in the ballpark is expecting him to hit there. One thing he can do is hit a fastball when he knows it's coming. And that was the one opportunity. But with Altuve sitting there, I think I'd have been taken too. But it's tempting.
The set and the 3-1 pitch is lofted into right field where Engel waits.
But they won that inning because they flipped the order now for the next inning.
After 4, Astros 2, White Sox 1. The American League Division Series is brought to you by Good Sam Rentals. Travel America with Good Sam. And then when you get where you're going, visit Good Sam RV Parks, America's largest campground network. And this MLB Net telecast is presented by Geico. Switch to Geico for more ways to save. On to the 5th. Leury Garcia, who struck out in the 2nd, leads it off. Framber Valdez has struck out 6, including all 3 in the 2nd inning. He is 5'11" and listed at 239 from the Dominican Republic.
That's how big guys are now. Mickey Mantle was 5'11", 195, wasn't he, Bob?
Something in that vicinity. Willie Mays, too.
Yep.
Pretty much about that.
Boy, something. He's looking at the mound. I mean, he was in such a good rhythm, and all of a sudden 3 pitches about 6 inches outside. It happens. They're not robots.
3-1 to Garcia. He hit .267 for the year. Adam Engel on deck. A chopper to his left, Correa. It's off his glove.
Top spin. It's another thing when you get to the big leagues, how much quicker balls go through the infield. Once again, I'll tell you guys, this is as fast an infield as there is in baseball. I'm talking including the AstroTurf fields. The ball just jumps through the infield here. You better have some infielders that have range. But
so a leadoff hit for Garcia.
Watch this ball, where it hits, and the next time it hits.
Reminds me of a Kirby Puckett single in the Metrodome where it would hit the plate and bounce into the outfield.
And that's the things when you make the jump to the big leagues, the ball just gets to you quicker.
And the fields are so well manicured now, you can't doctor them anymore by letting the grass grow. They're all nice and smooth, and they take big hops.
What do you mean you can't?
Well, you should. Yeah, let the grass grow if you're a sinker ball pitcher. Get a lot of ground balls. They could for this guy.
I hope I can get one story in about Sparky Anderson. Sparky,
Go ahead.
I went in to play Detroit early on managing. They had Trammell and Whitaker were at the end of their career, but they could catch it on one side, not the other. If you look down the middle of the field, the left field you could hide Easter eggs on, okay? The grass was so high. The other side with all those left-handed hairy hitters they had, it was cut real short. That's what we did at Yankee Stadium. We had it short on one side and high on the other. Not that you could get by with that back then.
Yeah.
So you manicured the field according to your defenders as much as you did your hitters. Sparky started to get on me about our field at Yankee Stadium. I said, ho, 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 wait a minute. I just came from your field. You know, we're going to have an Easter egg hunt there next year.
A ball and a strike now to Engel. The White Sox have 3 switch hitters in their lineup. Grandal, Moncada, and Garcia, who singled a moment ago. And the rest straight right-handed hitters. So no break for Valdez. Facing righties up and down. Valdez is the only left-hander in the rotation for Dusty Baker. And the Astros have only one southpaw in the bullpen, Brooks Raley.
It's still one of the amazing things to me is the ability to switch hit. I don't know how they do it. I really don't. And I was looking at the averages of all the switch hitters coming into the game today and how close they really are. There's not a huge advantage right and left with these guys. The ability to have similar numbers right and left. That's why the great Ted Simmons always just amazed me that you were able to do that from both sides.
Ted Simmons finally got his due.
Yes.
Inducted a month or so ago into Baseball's Hall of Fame.
And his,
terrific acceptance speech.
I was getting ready to say, and his speech should have been Hall of Fame by itself.
Beautifully written and delivered in the dramatic tones of a great stage actor. That ball is ripped and into the glove of Bregman. He throws. Actually, the ball got away from him. Makes no difference because Garcia would have gotten back anyway. So they can laugh about it.
You think he was trying to hold it because he saw the guy was safe?
I think so.
That was a blur. Bregman was able to make the play.
Bob, think about the 2 plays they've had at each corner now. That play, and he was trying to hold it at the last second.
Oops.
Don't have a play. Let's stop. Hey.
No harm. Go ahead and laugh about it.
They win today. They'll be talking about that on the plane to Chicago today.
They win today, going to Chicago up 2-0. There'll be plenty of smiles. And that's how quickly it can end in the division series. Not counting anybody out, there have been teams that have come back. Dusty Baker knows it well. It's happened to him. Up 2-0.
That's why he's sitting here. You know, the White Sox can somehow figure out a way to win today, and they're going home for the next 2. Whole different series.
Anderson's 1 for 2. Tony La Russa in the 1 dugout. 6 pennants, 3 world championships. Dusty Baker has won division titles with 5 different teams. With the Giants, with the Cubs, with the Reds, with the Nats, and now with the Astros. But he has had many postseason disappointments, some of them epic.
You know, Bob, you roll the dice in October. You grind like heck to get a chance like they have now.
That ball is ripped through the middle. Nearly took Valdez's head off. Second hit of the afternoon for Anderson. 2 on with 1 out.
You know, Parcells had a great line. He says, you know, good coaches, good managers, you feel like they could take his and beat yours and then take yours and beat his.
Yeah. Boy, that right there will get your heart rate up a little bit. Valdez, once that ball leaves your hand, you're a 5th infielder. You don't get that glove up in time.
Almost lost his hat.
Yeah.
And nearly lost his head. Now here's Robert. Singled and walked.
So the fastball comes in, I'd say, from Valdez, maybe in the low to mid 90s. It went back at 109. So you better get that glove up and be ready. They get back there a lot faster than they go in.
You ever been hit, Jim, real hard with a line drive?
I got 7 teeth right here to show you. one-hopper skipper.
Did you pick it up and throw him out?
No, I went over to third base. I got the ball with the teeth marks in it, though.
At home?
Yeah.
Really?
Robert drives one hard to left, and it will get down and one-hop the wall. Garcia's going to score. Anderson to third. Robert is held to a long single, but he's tied the game. How about Robert? He's 4 for 5 in the series, and a couple of other plate appearances ended in a walk and being hit by a pitch.
You guys want to bet me that where Abreu's trying to hit this baseball here, first and third?
Right field?
I think he's going the other way here.
Yeah. Well, while they have a little break here, in fact, I need to read this right now because earlier in the game when Yoan Moncada was at the plate, in an attempt to compliment the great player that he is, I used a poor choice of words that resulted in an insensitive and hurtful remark, and I'm sorry for that.
Get ready for the next pitch with Evan Williams, bourbon done right.
And what that last at-bat tells me, Buck and Bob, is that Valdez works low and away. Alvarez gets very few chances. So now they're starting to come back inside, and they're ripping balls to left field. So now there goes the game of adjustment again.
Yeah, point, counterpoint. Now, they know that he's such a good hitter. You don't drive in the runs Abreu does and not understand the situation. He knows there's a lot of money over there the other way, and Dusty knows that too. He's going to make the move.
Dusty with the slow walk to the mound, and Valdez with a rueful chuckle. He knows his afternoon is done. Just when he appeared to be settling into a groove, things unraveled a bit for him in the fifth. Yimi Garcia is going to come in.
Yeah, Buck, Abreu reminds me of the Hall of Fame great Tony Perez. He was just an RBI machine, and in situations like this, he could give up a ground out to get a run in.
You know, Dusty speaks fairly fluent Spanish, so he could tell Valdez, nice job, and tell Garcia, go get him.
I know the bad
when one
words.
leaves and the other arrives.
I know the bad words. Dusty knows all of them.
We'll be back.
Then he tried Wendy's breakfast. Now we can't get rid of him.
Can you believe this breakfast croissant is only $1.99?
Yeah, Reggie. I put the sign up.
Choose wisely. Choose Wendy's.
With Early Paycheck, you can get your direct deposit up to 2 days earlier. That's another reason banking with Capital One is the easiest decision in the history of decisions. Even easier than this.
Well, honey, which one are you going to open up first?
Yep, even easier than that. Plus, with no fees or minimums on checking and savings accounts, is it even a decision? That's banking reimagined. What's in your wallet?
Here's a good Halloween trick. Buy a bunch of Reese's. There you go. Turn off all the lights in your house. Yeah. And then you just don't answer the door. Not sorry, Reese's.
We've often wondered what keeps the world running. Economics? Algorithms? Magic? Turns out, it's you. Doing your thing. Dreaming dreams. Building new worlds. It's why we built our workspace technology, to help you do your best work and to see what you can become. You're made for bigger things.
The Citrix pitching change brings Yimi Garcia to the mound. He, like the man he's succeeded on the hill for the Astros, is from the Dominican Republic, 31 years old, struggled in Houston after being acquired from the Marlins at the trade deadline. ERA about 5.5 in 23 appearances.
And when you see those numbers, 60 strikeouts, I think that's what Dusty's gambling on here, that he can get a strikeout of Abreu. Tough to do.
With runners at the corners and one out. Ball 1 to Abreu. He's singled and struck out. As we mentioned earlier, he hit into 28 double plays this year, the most of any hitter in the majors. Soft toss. Purpose only to keep Robert close enough so that he can't get down to second base in time to break up a double play if that situation should evolve.
You know, there's an old trick play, Bob, where the pitcher, you see how far Anderson came down the line when he threw to first, where the pitcher steps off the rubber and fakes a throw to first base and wheels back to third base in a timing play. I don't think you're going to see it here, but every time I see that and the guy extend his lead at third, I think about it.
And a right-hand pitcher, Buck, that I think was playing before your time, and he was the best. I got a chance to play with him briefly. He was the best of the guys I saw as a right-hand pickoff move, and that was Steve Busby. He could do that step to first and zing to third just like that.
But you got to step off to fake that throw to first. Right. First time I saw it was a guy named Tim Burke with the Expos. He got a lot of guys that year.
Anderson at third, Robert at first. And the 1-1 pitch. It's looped into right center field for a base hit. The White Sox take the lead.
The other way.
Yeah.
And Abreu does what he does so well. He drives runs home, and when people say, hey, RBIs, that doesn't matter that much. Just like batting average. That's been eclipsed by new age stats, and there's some truth to that. But still, you cannot overlook what Abreu does. He knocks in 100 every year.
But that's a mentality. He's not trying to hit. You know how inviting those short seats are? Watch how short he is. He is not going to pull that ball and top it over to the shortstop for a double play. He takes his ego out of it. He takes what's given to him, because it's so tempting to try to hook a ball in those seats. But he knows they're not going to give him a pitch to do it with.
So now Grandal fouls it off.
Yeah, such a professional job of hitting. I mean, on balance, and as you mentioned, that swing was by design to take the ball the other way.
From the on-deck circle on, regardless of who the pitcher was.
Grandal has been on playoff teams with the Brewers, with the Dodgers, and now with the White Sox, and has never really hit well in October. 11 for 93 in the playoffs and World Series, counting the double play he hit into earlier today. He was hit by a pitch his first time up. Take a look at our Citrix shift tracks. Don't try to say that fast.
Say that 3 times.
I don't even want to say it once. Showing you in real time the defensive positioning.
Yeah, and it looked like Grandal kind of had that zone in mind when he swung at that pitch.
So tempting here with the third baseman away from the bag and the shift on to try to steal third base, even though you got a left-handed hitter up.
It bounces away, and runners will be at second and third.
All right, Jimmy, how you playing your infield here?
I want to ask you. You're a manager.
I was trying to get ahead of you.
No, but you're the manager now. From my standpoint, left-hand pitcher, right-hand hitter, who's on deck, that plays in as a pitcher.
Yep,
so,
yep. Are you going to pitch differently according to where the infielders are playing?
Well, right now I'm a left-hand hitter. I'm probably going to put him on.
Another good point. There's so many things that go in. This is about a 10-second pause you have to make this decision in the dugout.
Yeah,
they're playing him up.
2 strikes on him, so you're not going to put him on.
No.
May be careful. Fouls it off.
And you see by that swing what he's trying to do. He had his eyes on left field.
But if you're going to play the infield in here, you've got to hold the runner at third. You see why they're giving him all of the left side, because Bregman's got to hold Anderson. But by playing the infield in, it tells you they're going to try to knock him down at the plate. So in order to do that, you got to shorten his lead at third base. See how Bregman's hanging with him? Because if he gives him too much leeway here, now they've shifted their shortstop back over with 2 strikes.
Wild pitch a moment ago changed the whole dynamic. And this one is lofted into left center field, not terribly deep. Alvarez with a running start makes the catch. The throw to the plate is cut off. And the White Sox pad their lead. Robert scores. Abreu holds second.
It was interesting. They had the first baseman come in as a cutoff man. Normally on a ball to left field, the third baseman's a cutoff man, but because of the trail runner, he's got to cover third base. I'm not sure if the shortstop would get over, so the first baseman has to come across. Watch Bregman retreat here. So if that ball's cut and that runner's running to third base, you got to be able to cover the bag because the shift, Correa's too far up the middle to get there.
Productive out.
A lot of them today. How many home runs today, Jim?
I haven't seen any yet.
Exactly. This is what you see this time of year. The guys that can have productive at bats and productive outs, you end up leading 4-2 right now. The Astros have had some too.
Eloy Jimenez robbed of a hit by Altuve in the first, then singled in the fourth. It's a generalization, and let's stipulate that you don't want to discount the importance of power, both the actual power if someone connects and the threat of it and what that does to the way pitchers work and how it changes lineups. But as a generalization, teams that are able to make contact and handle good pitching and play small ball in October tend to do better if they can use that as a complement to the big sticks in the middle of their lineup. The 0-1 pitch. Cut on and missed.
Here's a little managing thing going on. Dusty's got a left-hander up in the bullpen. He's not necessarily there to come in the game. He's there to try to keep, guys like Sheets and Collins and the left-handed hitters from coming off the bench, because he knows that Tony will pop a guy here to try to take advantage of that. So sometimes by having that left-hander up, it keeps the other manager from potentially doing something. And he knows that with a 3-pitch minimum, it's going to be tough to bring that left-hander in. He's not going to let him pinch hit Sheets here somewhere and catch him off guard.
There's Raley, the only left-hander they have out of the bullpen, getting ready.
He cannot even pitch in a game and impact it just by warming up.
A bouncing ball to the right side. Altuve has it. And he throws Jimenez out. But the White Sox throw 3 on the board in the 5th and turn a 2-1 deficit into a 4-2 lead. In a reversal of fortune, now Lucas Giolito finds himself on the long end of a 4-2 score. Needs to complete this inning to qualify for the victory. Altuve starts it. He's 0 for 2 against it.
It's the third time around the order. We hear that all the time, right? Yeah. I will say this for Giolito. 173 opponents average, third time through the lineup, second best in Major League Baseball to Scherzer.
Brantley and Bregman to follow Altuve.
Well, he needs starters as a starter now. You got a 4-2 lead. You call this a shutdown inning.
Tony La Russa and Dusty Baker, two fabled managers, say now that they've buried the hatchet. I'm quoting Dusty, buried the hatchet. And Tony said, hey, it's all behind us now. Had a chance to cross paths away from the field in the last few years, talk things through. But it was very intense and bitter for several years. And in a moment, Tom Verducci is going to take us through the chronology. The 1-1 pitch to Altuve is high.
And if Lucas Giolito doesn't start finding the strike zone, Tom will have plenty of time because he just has not had a clean inning. And now with a 4-2 lead, Tony can go to his bullpen with 3 well-rested guys out there.
He struck out the side in the first, and since then, no clean innings. Three and 1. Nothing doing in the bullpen, though. Giolito's 82nd pitch coming up is a dangerous one. Altuve ahead on the count, 3-1. And he draws the walk. Here's Tom.
Oh, Bob, let's fire up that NTT flashback machine and go back to La Russa versus Baker in the postseason 2002 version. Both managers were fined after that incident. This is a year later when they're in the same division, and Dusty Baker said that was really the problem with our relationship. We saw each other 18, 19 times a year. That continued in the NL Central, St. Louis versus Cincinnati. This relationship, guys, goes back 50 years. Tony La Russa and Dusty Baker played one game together on the 1971 Atlanta Braves. And really, it's been years and the competition that has brought out the rivalry.
Brantley sends one to deep left center field. Robert glides to the 399 sign to put it away. Go ahead, Tom.
Really, whatever differences came up in the course of competition, I think it illuminated their similarities, usually always in defense of their own players and the unwritten codes of baseball. But as you mentioned, Dusty said they buried a hatchet. They were able to have a conversation, actually, at the funeral of Bob Welch, Dusty's former teammate with the Dodgers. And Tony, of course, managed him with the Oakland A's. That was a few years ago. And ever since then, the relationship has been fine, but competition will always test a friendship.
And of course, Tom, Dusty's last of 19 years as an active player was 1986 in Oakland. It was Tony's first year as the A's manager. So Dusty's last manager was Tony La Russa. So they had a history, and a happy one, until, as Tom said, the competition turned intense. A lot of similarities. Here's a difference. Dusty was a very good player. 278 lifetime, 242 home runs. Tony, when your lifetime average is a point lower than Bob Uecker, not so good. 199. The 0-1 pitch now to Bregman, who's 1 for 2.
This is why Bregman didn't like the call on that. Borderline, knee-high outside corner, and Giolito and the White Sox got the call.
We mentioned a moment ago there was no action in the bullpen for the White Sox. That's changed. The left-hander Garrett Crochet is up.
Yeah, and chances are with him working yesterday, you know, we use the old expression, doesn't take long to warm up a Rolls Royce. He could probably throw 5 pitches and he's ready.
I tell you, in the middle of the summer with the roof open, not that it's open during the summer, that is one of the hottest bullpens. The other one's not too hot. Everything's hot here when they got the roof open in the summer, though. They don't do it much.
That one bounces up there, blocked by Grandal. 2-2.
See, that's 90 feet. We talk about 90 feet, 90-foot increments. Blocking this baseball, that's textbook. Keeps a double play in order. As a lot of things happen as a result of him blocking that pitch.
Bregman at the plate. Why is he so dangerous? Not the biggest guy, but especially in this ballpark. He hits a whole lot of home runs into those Crawford boxes. Home runs that aren't tape measure shots, but he rounds the bases on them. The 2-2 from Giolito is bounced foul. What was it that Hank Aaron always used to say? He didn't really hit 400 footers, let alone 450 footers. If I get it in the first row, second row, that's good enough. Well, Alex Bregman has hit over the last 6 seasons 26 home runs of 360 feet or less, more than any other player in the majors.
That's my point about the home runs Stanton hits and the home runs that Bregman hit count the same. When they start giving a run and a half for the longer ones, then it might mean something. Can you imagine at 450 they started giving a run and a half? Anything over 450?
Man. It's like a three-pointer in basketball.
Yeah.
We don't want to see that. Full count. take a look. Those Crawford boxes are awfully inviting. And occasionally he'll go the other way and just clear the barrier.
Look, Kitty, you starting to run it here? 3-2-1 out. You got a plus runner at first base. Guy
Yes.
who puts the ball in play.
Yes.
Giolito struggling. He's gone to 3 balls on 6 of the last 7 hitters he's faced, including Bregman here. Altuve runs. And now he can try. Ball 4. Grandal perhaps buying some time. Goes out to talk with Giolito. No one has popped out of the White Sox dugout yet.
And Bob, you mentioned, like, it looks like Giolito is losing it. I think what's happened to him with a lead, here comes Tony, is he's got that scouting report-itis, and he's trying to make 2 perfect pitches instead of trusting his stuff like he did early on.
Well, one of the issues you got here is this new rule now. You got the left-hander come in. He's got good enough stuff to get left and right out, but not only is he going to be asked to get Alvarez out, but he's going to be asked to get 2 more guys after that are right-handed.
Yeah. Don't like the rule.
And Alvarez, by the way, hits southpaws very well.
But this guy's not your garden variety southpaw.
Exactly.
Giolito's walking off, and we're stepping off for just a moment.
That's the thing about claims, you see. They don't happen on your schedule. I mean, take a chestnut. It doesn't just say, oh, beg pardon, sir, but is now a good time for a jolly bit of window cracking? Oh, I mean, if they did, you wouldn't need a Geico claims team that's available 24/7. Well, near as I can tell, chestnuts don't talk. Or maybe they're just really quiet.
Geico, your claims team is here for you 24/7.
Well, got things to do, Mr. Chestnut, so...
If sweat is your body's natural way of cooling itself down, then condensation is a beer's natural way of saying, drink me.
New Dove Men plant-based body wash is different. With plant-based cleansers and moisturizers for healthy and hydrated men's skin. Relax your body and mind. Shower with New Dove Men.
The new City Custom Cash Card. A different kind of card that rewards Rashida and Dan where their spending is trending. Just ask fifth class this week, Rashida.
Dan, no pain, no gain, okay? Yeah, I know. It's just, hello? Claire? What? Fire.
Or always road tripping on empty, Dan.
I told you this would happen. The light was not even on.
No, it was on.
What?
With the new City Custom Cash Card, it pays to be you. From fitness clubs, gas stations, restaurants, and more. Earn 5% cash back that automatically adjusts to your top eligible spend category. Up to $500 spent each billing cycle.
One evening,
Let's go, Walter.
The sun went down.
After you.
Jungle fire was burning.
Walter,
Down the track came
get
a
on!
right. I said, boys, I'm not turning. I'm headed for a land that's far away.
It's a multi-flex tailgate. It can be a step, it can even become a workspace.
Meet the cat.
What's so great about him? He didn't have a workspace.
The Chevy Silverado with the available multi-flex tailgate. Find new adventures, find new roads. Chevrolet.
So here's the situation inherited by Garrett Crochet. He has a 2-run lead to protect. The tying runs are aboard. Altuve at second. Bregman at first. They both walked, and in between, Brantley sent Robert to the wall in left center field.
And you see the strikeout total. And right now, if you're the Astros base runners, be alive, because Crochet throws that sharp breaking ball low and away. It's going to put a lot of pressure on Grandal to block that ball.
And a lot of pressure on a 22-year-old kid in just his second major league season. Ball 1 to Alvarez, who's walked and fouled out. Crochet threw 26 pitches in game 1, got 3 outs across the 6th and 7th innings, but not before giving up 3 hits to Brantley, Bregman, and Correa. But he did strike out Alvarez on a slider in the midst of all that. Tony La Russa well aware as he brings him in. Now, technically, if you end the inning, you don't have to face 3 hitters. So if he gets Alvarez and Gurriel, or if Alvarez hit into a double play, then Crochet can be removed from the game.
Green light here for Alvarez. Look for fastball and look for it in a certain zone.
Ooh, took a rip and fouled it back on the 96-mile-per-hour heater.
You know, everybody says, "Oh, he was right on it." Oh gosh, he fouled it right back. Yeah, he was on the velocity, but he wasn't on the location. He missed it by almost the width of the bat.
Yeah, it was up and in.
Now, with that being said, that's a pretty good swing.
Yeah.
He missed this the width of the ball, I should say.
Yeah.
And he was on the location and wasn't quite on the. He was on the velocity, but not the location.
Three and one.
Hadn't thrown a breaking ball yet.
All four-seam fastballs. All clocked exactly the same at 96. And the 3-1 fouled back.
Same one.
Yeah. Nothing like you find out as a pitcher who lost 237 games, which I did.
Yeah, but you won more than 280.
You get beat on hanging breaking balls more than you do on good fastballs because you don't have quite as much time to time it, the fastball. So I still think that's the pitch you trust the most.
You know what's tempting right now? He hadn't seen a breaking ball.
I know.
If you get anyone around the plate, and you. So tempting to throw a breaking ball here, Jim.
The runners stay put, and the bases are loaded on 3 walks. 2 of them issued by Giolito before he was yanked, and now Crochet walks the first hitter he faces.
This might be real fine, nitpicky type stuff, but what happens in these games like this with the tension as a pitcher, finger pressure and a light thumb. You grip it a little tight,
well, you know,
and that's what happens.
That's a great point because he went from 95, 96 to 98 on that pitch.
Yeah.
Which tells you he was trying to get a little bit more.
Up steps Gurriel, the American League batting champion, who's 0 for 2 today and 0 for 6 in the series. Strike one. Very often in the postseason, we have viewers join us who haven't followed baseball all that closely, and they may wonder. The rule with the ghost runner on second base in extra innings does not apply in the playoffs or World Series. But the new rule about a reliever having to face 3 or finishing the inning does apply. 0-2.
Looked like the first breaking ball he's doing. Looked like it had a nose of fastball. Not sure. Yeah, it's 97 it is.
And his 0-2 pitch.
That was the first breaking ball there. Here's another guy very much like Abreu. He's not afraid to shoot the ball the other way in this situation either. He's trying to stay away from a ground ball in the infield.
Hit sharply and through for a base hit. It's going to tie the game. Gurriel's first hit of the series makes it a 4-4 ball game. Altuve and Bregman score. Alvarez to second. And Crochet and the White Sox still in hot water.
Took it right up the middle. Didn't try to pull it, and I think all 4 Astros runs have been the result of base on balls.
3 walks in this inning before the RBI hit from Gurriel plates 2. Dusty, just as animated as ever at 72, pointing toward Gurriel. You're my man. Got it done.
Difference with Dusty and a lot of guys. If he'd hit into a double play, he'd have still been his man. You know, players need to realize that, you know, you've got a long memory. He knows this guy's led the league in hitting, win, lose, or draw, and I think that's, you know, a good lesson.
Sometimes he wears the mask, in which case there's no toothpick. In this case, the mask has come off, and the trademark toothpick is back.
I sent Dusty over some toothpicks one time when he was getting ready to go to the playoffs. They were soaked in whiskey. About a few days later, I get a text going, oh, now I get it. He didn't try them until a few days later.
Well, let's take a look at Crochet. I mean, he's limited with what he can throw over the plate, but here's the sequence. Good fastball, first strike. Another one on the inside corner. Emergency swing, stays alive. And then left it about letter high over the middle, and that's where he hit it, up the middle. Hasn't really gone to that sharp breaking ball much at all.
He's thrown one breaking ball.
Now Correa, who has walked and struck out. Way high and outside.
Yeah, this is playoff pressure, no doubt about it.
They came ready to roar.
Yeah.
They came dressed in orange, much like Chiefs fans at a football game in their red, or Cardinal fans at a baseball game in St. Louis. It's the most orange you'll see this side of a Syracuse basketball game.
First breaking ball and a good one. Yeah, I think the challenge for a pitcher now in these tense situations is try to get yourself to hold the ball like an egg and not like a shot put.
Sellout crowd, 41,315. A few Sox fans scattered among them. One and two to Correa with Kyle Tucker on deck. Rolled to third. Moncada steps on the bag, throws across the diamond, and got him as Vaughn held the bag.
Surprised he didn't go 5-4-3 there, but he got away with it.
Had to make a split-second decision. Decided to go to the bag and then go to first, and it worked out. So the Astros take the lead, or rather tie the game, but cannot take the lead because of the double play that ends the inning. Phil Maton comes on, and Moncada, who started the double play to end the bottom of the fifth, turns around and bats left-handed. Maton with an unimpressive ERA, but a good one-loss record. Shift on against Moncada.
Well, a really good mound visit here. Ethan Matz went out, their pitching coach, calmed him down a little bit, got the ground ball. Could have gone 5-4-3. Could go, you know, usually your momentum takes you to third, you take that play. If you catch it stationary, you go to second base, but it worked out.
Hit hard and foul.
Both these teams in need of a clean inning or two. Get the blood pressure down a bit. Traffic in every inning.
Moncada has struck out and hit into a double play.
You know, Dusty and Tony are sitting here thinking you got a 12-out game now, Bobby. You know, it's you know, You're mapping out these innings and where the matchups are and where the pitfalls are, and you're trying to play a 12-out game and see if you can keep them from scoring more runs than you. It's not that complicated right now.
Two and two.
And I'm sure they're aware of who's on the bench and who they'd like to. Like the White Sox have a power hitter in Gavin Sheets. Come off the bench. Collins, a backup catcher.
Ryan Stanek in the Houston pen. High fly ball to shallow right. In comes Tucker. T-Mobile covers the most interstate highway miles with 5G. Home or away, stay connected to your team with T-Mobile, the leader in 5G coverage. Andrew Vaughn has struck out twice. Versatile player. Left field, right field, first base, second base, and third base at various times for Tony La Russa this year. Maton is 28 years old in his 5th season. You may remember him with Cleveland, where he had some success.
Not a hard thrower, but yet in these days of spin rate, he seems to get a lot of hitters out. That one well outside with his fastball, even though it's in the low 90s. Throws it in good spots up above the belt.
Altuve with a lunging grab. Soft line drive that appeared headed for shallow center field until Altuve dove to make the play.
So, Buck, they've each joined the party now. Correa with a good play in the first, then Gurriel, then Bregman, now Altuve.
Yeah, and what gets overshadowed, like we talked about in the pregame, is that these guys are good offensive performers. They run the bases well, but they defend. Yeah. You know, on the days where they're 0 for 4, they can impact the game. They can turn hits into outs.
Like that.
Yeah, the number of players, at the major league level, you find out a lot of guys, and you look around, how many guys on my field can turn hits into outs? There's one that can.
Leury Garcia struck out and singled. Phil Maton was with Cleveland, as we mentioned. Then the Astros got him at the trade deadline, sending the guy who was then their starting center fielder, Miles Straw, to Cleveland. They figured they were well set up with Chas McCormick and Jake Myers. Myers started yesterday in center, McCormick today. So they dealt Straw, a good defender and a speedy base runner. Brent Strom, why not? 72-year-old pitching coach, 72-year-old manager. And the 0-2 pitch. Got him. Maton turns in an impressive half inning with the help of a sparkling defensive play from Altuve. Welcome back to the Good Sam ALDS on MLB Network. Bottom of the 6th in a 4-4 game. Bottom of the order for the Astros. Kyle Tucker, Chas McCormick, Martin Maldonado.
Ryan Tepera, you see his numbers. A lot of strikeouts, which most pitchers do today. And as usual, this game will be decided by who pitches well out of the bullpen.
Tucker had an RBI single, then fouled out. Ball 1-2 him.
Interesting that we talked to both managers, quizzing them who's available. What about this guy if he starts? This is the kind of game where you're going to see anybody in any situation.
Especially with the off days in the playoffs. You know, sometimes I wish we just play just like you do during the season every day, even the World Series, but we know there's some other issues there. But, you know, with the off days, you can really push the envelope.
Tucker sends one into left center field, and it's caught on the run by Elroy Jimenez.
You know, one little side note, this may not sound at the time, but Chris Conroy's having a good game, you know, because we haven't talked about him. You know how hard it is, you know, people talking about, what's your feeling, Jimmy, on the possible strike zone? Great play here, too. That ball, a lot of times right there, is in the lights, and yes, the lights are on.
You see him trying to play it to the side so he gets a better view of it. Nice play.
Eloy Jimenez.
Watch, he followed that all the way in.
Helping Tepera out.
I still like the human factor. Pitchers get to know their umpires, who's generous, who's not. They make mistakes just like players.
I'm impressed with him today. He's doing a nice job back there.
Yeah, when you don't see the pitcher or the hitter look a lot, you know the umpires, if he's insignificant, he's doing a good job.
Jazz McCormick doesn't have an official at bat. Sac fly and a walk. Base hit. He's aboard with one out. Tomorrow night, some NLDS matchups. It starts at 5 Eastern on TBS with Game 2 of Braves Brewers. Then at 9, another Game 2. It's the Dodgers and the Giants. Both games tomorrow on TBS.
Well, Jim, great situation for hit and run.
Yep.
One out. Guy who hits into double play a lot. Altuve behind him. Guy doesn't run well in Maldonado. Guy at first doesn't clog the bases up.
Oh, I love it. You just don't see it very much anymore.
You might see it with Dusty Baker.
Yeah, he's old school.
Maldonado has twice fly to right.
And Tony's thinking the same thing. When you see a guy throw over there, you're thinking about what you're focusing on is the base runner's front knee. If his front knee buckles a little bit, it might tell you that he's going, but a pitcher's got to hold the ball and let him get stationary before he throws over.
Good point. As a pitcher, yeah, you looked at that same thing. As a left-hander, you were looking at the runner.
You watch the runner's front knee on throw over, he'll tell you whether he's going or not.
Strike one to Maldonado.
We all talked about how good Maldonado is behind the plate. When he won the Gold Glove, he gave a replica to Jerry Nairn, who was now the coaching in the White Sox dugout, just as a thank you for all the work that Jerry's been around forever. One of the better one of the better catching instructors and coaches in general. You like that when players remember that.
Check swing back to the mound. Tepera gets the force at second. Can they turn a double play with Maldonado running? Yes, they can.
Whoa, that was impressive.
That's why you got to think about hitting and running.
Yeah, I hear you.
Double play puts an abrupt end to the bottom of the 6th. Couple of moves. This is the Citrix pinch hitter by the name of Cesar Hernandez. Switch hitter who will bat for Adam Engel and face Ryan Stanek. Stanek pitched very well down the stretch for the Astros, posting an ERA of 1.15 in his final 16 appearances of the regular season.
And these are his innings, 7th and 8th. Buck, I imagine I know managers I played for had certain guys they'd bring in with men on or start of an inning, so you kind of know where to slot them.
If you got that luxury, you know, sometimes you don't have it, but we talked about it was a 12-out game. Now it's a 9-out game.
Yeah.
You know, you got to figure out, you know, and the strategy changes according to home and visitor. But when you know you got X number of outs.
The 1-1 cut on and missed.
Wow, that's got some fuzz on it right there. The Minnesota Twins will have a little influence on the outcome of this game. Stanek came up with the Twins. The two closers, Presley and Liam Hendricks, were teammates with the Twins 7-8 years ago. We're apt to see them.
Stanek's greatest claim to fame to this point in his career is 56 starts that didn't last long as an opener. The Rays strategy.
Yeah.
And they had a night at the stadium where all the fans received a Ryan Stanek bottle opener, which featured audio recorded by our own Brian Kenny, who lauds the opener strategy because he has that new age view. BK does. And it's worked extremely well for the Rays. They know what they're doing there.
But you know, well, except it's really not.
Hernandez strikes out.
Yeah, it's really not an opener. Do I ever ask you what time's the game open tonight? No, it's still a starter. What time's the game start? So he's a starter, but he only goes one inning.
Well, this is all semantics now.
No, it's accuracy.
You know what's funny is that Tampa Bay would love to have 5 starters. They'd love to have Glass now. They'd love to have different guys. But
Blake Snell is gone. Charlie Morton is gone.
So
Glasnow is hurt.
They're doing it out of necessity.
3 rookies.
Yeah, they're doing it out of necessity.
In the postseason.
They don't have any choice. They don't have 5 starters. Yarborough's pretty good. They've got some guys that are good starters. They'd love to have 5 guys they could run out there.
Tim Anderson's 2 for 3. Well, how about this? The Rays and the Orioles are the 2 teams in the majors who average the fewest innings per start by their starter
did they
or
have
opener.
Similar years?
Now the Orioles do it because they're not so good. The Rays do it by design.
And that design comes from the fact they don't have 5 starters.
Yeah, but they were doing it even when they had those top shelf starters. Maybe not to the same extent, but they were still employing that strategy. 0-2 to Anderson.
Boy, this guy's got some power stuff.
He has dominated right-handed hitters this season.
Looked like he went to a split grip in his glove there. A lot of pitchers start with that and then change to the fastball.
Righties have hit 148 against him. Anderson in an 0-2 hole. And down he goes. Stanek comes in, records 2 quick Ks.
A little slider that just broke late enough and under the bat. In a tough zone, it's much more difficult to catch up with that pitch above the belt than it is below the belt. Below the belt, you just drop the barrel on it.
So now Robert, 2 for 2 with a walk. And he whistles one into left for a base hit.
I think that's kind of what Tony's talking about. When you see a first pitch 98-mile-an-hour fastball and you whistle it in the left field after this guy looked like a world beater, he might have a little different level that he can go to.
Well, he's 5 for 6 in this series, and in 2 other plate appearances he's also reached, hit by a pitch and walked.
And that had a sound that we could hear all the way up here. That was a Bo Jackson type sound hitting the bat.
That's that clean click that you listen for to tell you if a guy, when he squares the ball, it's not that muffled sound some hitters make now and then that rattles around on the barrel. That was that clean click you listen for in young hitters.
Abreu now, pair of singles with a strikeout sandwiched in between. No matter how this series should turn out, the White Sox are positioned to contend for a long time. They're in a relatively weak division. And you look at the young talent and keep in mind that they only had their top half-dozen players in the lineup in the same game roughly a dozen times during the regular season. Two and 0 to Abreu. Eloy Jimenez missed 99 games. Yasmani Grandal missed 45. Luis Robert missed 85. They all returned with a vengeance. After they came off the IL, They combined, the three of them, to hit .313 with 30 homers and 94 RBIs in 463 at-bats from that point on.
Abreu will be keyhole in here, as the hitters say. He's going to look for a certain pitch in a certain area in a 2-0 count.
It isn't that pitch. 3-0.
That's another thing that Robert base hit. It's kind of like flipping an order. What you're flipping to is giving this guy a chance to hit.
You'd let him hit here, wouldn't you?
Oh, sure.
Yeah.
You notice he didn't look down at third base, Jimmy.
No, because he's got the discipline. If it's, you know, he's got great plate discipline, but he'll have the green light.
But, you know, as a manager, you find out who you can trust with that, who won't have an emotional at bat in that situation.
Abreu's been at this too long to get emotional.
I'd be careful right here.
Ball 4. So Stanek comes in, strikes out Hernandez and then Anderson. But then Robert delivers a single and Abreu walks, and it brings Brent Strom to the mound.
Like that pitch, little inside. Yeah, and the base on balls. I mean, the four Astro runs are all after White Sox pitchers issued base on balls.
So the Astros have a 72-year-old manager, there he is, and a 72-year-old pitching coach who's at the mound right now. Tony La Russa, 77-year-old skipper for the White Sox, but the similarity ends with the pitching coaches because Ethan Katz is only 38. Tony La Russa at 77 is the third oldest manager in Major League history. We mentioned Connie Mack at 87. Jack McKeon, who was in his early 70s when he managed the Marlins to the World Championship in 2003, was brought back briefly in 2011 and managed for a portion of the season at age 80. So he's second oldest. Then comes La Russa, and then Casey Stengel was 74, 75 when he was managing the Mets and basically more or less just conducting a public relations campaign because, you know, they were 40 and 120 or whatever it might have been for the old professor. And then comes Dusty Baker next in line.
Big shift on here.
Grandal cuts and misses. Hit by a pitch, hit into a double play, then delivered a sacrifice fly.
Yeah, you'd think with Stanek's power fastball and that hole open to the left, just put your Rod Carew hat on and serve one into left center.
Easier said than done.
Yeah, but you could attempt it.
Which is why Carew won what, 7 batting titles and hit like 328 lifetime. He wielded the bat as if it were a wand. Oh, 0-2 to Grandal as Stanek tries to finish the inning. This one will drift toward the seats and out of play.
You mentioned those old managers. Jack McKeon was my playing manager in '58 and really had a great influence on my career. And that same year, Bob Uecker was the cleanup hitter for the Boise Braves.
And he hit a home run off you, right? And never let you forget
that was later.
By the way, Trader Jack McKeon, 90 years old and still with us.
Oh, I know.
Perhaps he's watching. Another 0-2 pitch in the air to right center field. And it looked for a moment as if Tucker might have misjudged it. But he reaches up to haul it in and finish off the inning. Stanek is pumped. Tom Hallian's got to check him just to be sure. That's kind of pro forma stuff these days. Almost got past him. Stretch time in Houston, 4-all game. Changes for the White Sox. Cesar Hernandez hit for the right fielder Adam Engel. The versatile Leori Garcia moves from second base to right field. Hernandez stays in the game and plays second base. And the new pitcher is the left-hander Aaron Bummer, who was 5-5 with an ERA of 3.5 in 62 appearances. Jose Altuve takes ball one. Altuve, Brantley, and Bregman in the Astros 7th.
You see by that delivery, he's a sinker ball pitcher. Comes out of somewhere around 3/4, hoping to get a lot of ground ball outs.
In fact, he led all relievers this year with a ground ball rate of 76% on balls put in play. 2-0.
It's kind of a three-hitter rule outing also, because 2 of the 4 hitters are left-handed. I don't think you normally have seen this conventional rules before we went to the 3-hitter rule. So, you know, Tony knows he can face 3 to 4 hitters here and not really lose an advantage. This guy's got good enough stuff, like you said, Jim, to face left and right-handed hitters.
Ooh. Yeah, I'm interested, Buck, in infield now. Right now, I see the shortstop, second baseman playing a little bit. They leave in quite a wide open area in the middle. And if you're a sinker ball pitcher, that's where a lot of the balls might go.
Yeah.
But they have all the metrics to tell them where they should play.
Altuve chops one over the mound and into center field for a leadoff hit. And you can get your game on at MLBshop.com for authentic on-field caps, tees, hoodies, and more. Get all your postseason gear and wear what the champs wear at the official source, MLBshop.com. Predict which players will stack the most total bases each day during the postseason and compete to win $20,000. Enter MLB Base Chase, presented by Michelob Ultra, at MLB.com/basechase. See official rules for details.
Jim, was that what you're talking about? Hit it right there?
That's right. Well, that's why before all the metrics, pitchers, we would look around and kind of with our hands, you know, move an infielder here or there. But if you're a sinker ball pitcher against a right-hand hitter, you know, the middle of the field, you need to protect a little bit.
Bummer generally is very effective against left-handed hitters, and you can see why. But Brantley is 5 for 7 against him in his career. And takes a strike.
Sometimes, I know Brantley's probably not going to bunt here, but sometimes left-handers, you'll have them throw over to first base with a deceptive move to see if the hitter will show bunt. I've seen Tony do that a lot, where you'll throw over to first base with a left-hander to see if the hitter might show him whether or not they're bunting.
Well, the Astros have the best hitter they could possibly have in the box right now with discipline and bat control.
Oh, 0-2. Brantley has a double in 3 at-bats. Also sent Robert nearly to the wall in front of the 399 sign for his long fly ball in the 5th. Bregman on deck, and then Alvarez. Well, this is typical of Michael Brantley. He doesn't just put the ball in play, he does damage. Hit .311 this year, second in the American League to his teammate Yuli Gurriel. And he strikes out, a rarity for him.
Well, that's why when you see the stats, you can throw the season stats out the window oftentimes, because that's just a killer breaking ball.
Yeah, he hits left-handers well. I don't know about this left-hander.
Right, yeah.
It's kind of like
that.
You're talking about not playing Altuve to pull.
Ooh.
Well, he pulls the ball in the air for the home runs.
Yeah.
So sometimes you got to go. Okay, he pulls the ball in the air, but where does he hit the ball on the ground?
Yeah, and this guy's a sinker ball player. I mean, I don't know if Stan Musial might have trouble with that breaking ball. That was perfect.
Now Bregman, 1 for 2 with a walk. Earlier in his career, Altuve twice led the American League in stolen bases. Swiped only 5 this year in 8 attempts. In tight to Bregman.
Well, Buck mentioned a while ago the hit and run, and a lot of times managers, and I'm sure you would do it against sinker ball pitchers, you want to avoid the ground ball double play, sinker low and away, hole open first and second.
Yeah, I don't like it versus the left-handed pitcher because the runner at first has to wait so long to break that you really don't get the infielders moving. A sharp ground ball is still a double play. I just think Altuve would have to wait so long to honor the move to first base. It's really not worth it.
Ouch. It's off Bummer, and into center field it goes. Altuve scoots to third. A bummer all around for him.
Ooh. Yeah, I think because it deflected off of him, it caused it to get to center field a lot slower, which allowed Altuve to go first to third. That ball slowed it down enough just for him to go first to third.
Yeah, but you see where he finished. He never had his glove. I mean, that's the power pitchers today. They just don't finish in a position. He was fortunate to at least get leather on it, keep from getting injured. He's not happy about it.
And a little something for you lip readers out there, as Katz, the pitching coach, arrives at the mound. Here's Tom Verducci.
Well, you just saw one of the quickest swings in all of baseball from Alex Bregman. It's a little bit unusual because he has also the strongest grip in baseball. First of all, he chokes up on the bat, helps him get to the pitches quickly. But look at the top hand, how it really comes around the handle of the bat. That's nothing that anybody would teach. In fact, they tried to change that, and he said, no, I'm good with it. But the position of his arm is why he's so quick to the baseball. He wants to keep the forearm and bicep as tight as possible. In other words, don't give any length. Don't get the hands or any part of the arm far away from his head. He is so quick to the baseball. Every hit he's had in this 2-game series so far has been off the fastball. He's just very hard to beat Alex Bregman with velocity.
So runners at the corners with 1 out for Yordan Alvarez, who's 0 for 1 with a couple of walks. Altuve at third, Bregman at first. They both single. Way outside.
That's a real shallow double play depth at second base, isn't it?
Yeah. Is that one of those, if it's hit hard, we're going home?
I don't think you can throw Altuve out at the plate from there.
Oh. Because if it's hit hard, you think we're going for 2. Yeah, they are. They're playing like halfway.
Well, he'll go for 2 if it's hit right at him. Right. I don't know what other ball he's going to be able to throw Altuve out on.
One of many statistics that indicate how well the Astros play situational baseball. Meanwhile, Bummer on the mound, tough on left-handers, but Alvarez at the plate hits lefties better than any other left-handed hitter this season. Toward the middle and through for a base hit. The Astros go in front as Altuve scores. Bregman stopped at second.
Well, he put an exclamation point on your quote about him hitting left-hand hitters. And again, sinker ball pitchers, hitters are, if they're successful, they're going to take them up the middle.
I just can't say enough how fast this infield is.
Yeah.
Have you noticed all day how many balls fly through the infield? We haven't had a single home run hit today. There's, what, 9 runs on the board? So a lot of top spin ground balls.
No pun intended. It's like AstroTurf.
This is faster than AstroTurf, than the turf they're using today.
La Russa goes to the mound. He takes the ball. Craig Kimbrell, who was so terrific for the Cubs on the north side and not so much for the Sox on the south side when he came over at the trade deadline, looks like he'll be the next choice. We'll sort it out when we come back.
Oh, you're doing it wrong, man.
What's wrong with action figures?
Nothing, except buying them without Capital One Shopping.
What's that, Samuel, Mr. L. Jackson?
Capital One Shopping instantly searches for available coupon codes and automatically applies them. Just download it to your computer.
Whoa, you're my hero.
Yeah, I can tell.
You like it?
I look good in miniature. Capital One Shopping. It's kind of genius.
What's in your wallet?
I don't say it like that, Devin.
This wasn't no bear. It was like a bear squatch.
Dad, what's a bear squatch?
It's a cross between a bear and a sass. It's made up. He's usually sleeping.
He'll never sleep again.
Experience amazing at your Lexus dealer.
Every Halloween, millions of Reese's Cups just disappear. Don't worry, they're in a better place now. Yeah, much better place.
I know the best coffee spot in town. I can make a rustic cabin feel modern. I am a guidebook for guests. I can make an indoorsy person outdoorsy. I give families a home, not just a place to stay. I am a Verbo host.
Reggie Bush used to eat breakfast somewhere else. Then he tried Wendy's breakfast. Now we can't get rid of him.
Can you believe this breakfast croissant is only $1.99?
Yeah, Reggie. I put the sign up.
Choose wisely. Choose Wendy's.
Does your deodorant keep you fresh all day? We put Dove Men deodorant to the test with Nelson, a volunteer that puts care into everything he does.
It really protects my skin. It's comfortable and lasts a long time.
Dove Men, 48-hour freshness with triple action moisturizers.
Well, the Astros have taken the lead. A couple of innings ago, the White Sox were in some difficulty like this, and they got out of it with a double play. Nice play by Moncada to end that inning. But smart hitting by the Astros. There's a sixth inning, another double play they got. Great play by Tepera. That got him out of trouble, but not so this inning. I think the great approach by the Astros, taking the ball up the middle, has given them the lead.
3 singles in the inning. All of them up the middle, as Kitty said. Now Craig Kimbrell. In 39 appearances with the Cubs, his ERA was a microscopic 0.49. In 24 appearances for the White Sox, a bloated 5.09. Gurriel is the first man to face him, and he takes ball 1. Gurriel is 1 for 6 in his career against Kimbrell. In there.
Yeah, known for that triple-digit fastball, but he throws a lot of breaking balls. Kimbrell.
And known for that utterly unique stance and posture prior to delivery. Skied to right. Garcia just into the game in right field, having switched from second base, tucks it away.
Pretty good lineup when you think you're getting down toward the bottom of it. You got a player like Correa.
I think the word's relentless.
Yeah.
I used to say, you want to know what kind of batting order you have, look at your 7 through 9 and look at their 7 through 9 and see how it matches up. It's kind of like your 4th and 5th starter compared to the other team's 4th and 5th starter. It gives you an idea of what kind of depth and what kind of challenges you face other pitchers.
Correa. Ball 1.
Especially in the American League where you have the DH.
Carlos has walked, struck out, hit into a double play. Dusty Baker's vantage point. Kimbrel can still get up near triple digits. At age 33 in his 12th season in the majors.
I think the Astros have done their damage in the right situations. 4 for 9.
The 2-1 to Correa. 3-1. Kyle Tucker, left-handed hitter, waits on deck. Two out, 2 on, a run home. And the 3-1 pitch from Kimbrel to Correa. Line to right. Garcia turns around and can't find it. 2 runs are going to score on an opposite field double from Correa. Well, Garcia switched from second base to right field just in this half inning. The line drive off Correa's bat turned him around. He couldn't locate it. It sailed over his head.
It's so little time to react because it's hit so hard. He's trying to make that outside spin move because he knows the ball's tailing the other way. Because it was hitting so hard, he didn't have time to get around there and make an adjustment. That's a good swing on a high fastball.
Yeah, that was the product of the power of Correa. I mean, that ball was hit like a line drive. Garcia turned the right way, but he couldn't pick it up quickly enough.
Bregman scored from second. Alvarez from first. And with 6 outs left to him now, Tony La Russa trails 7-4. Ball 1 to Tucker, who had an RBI single in the second. Overall, he's 1 for 3. Breaking ball hit the deep left, way back, and out of here. Into the Crawford boxes. The train moves across the tracks in left center field, and the Astros move closer to a 2-0 lead in the best-of-5 series.
Jim, he's thrown a lot of breaking balls. That's the 4th or 5th breaking ball today.
Kimbrel, all but untouchable for the Cubs. been something closer to a punching bag with the Sox.
I'm always amazed that relief pitchers that can throw at 100 will throw that many breaking balls, and that's the pitch that hitters do the most damage on.
Another one. He's kind of a guy searching for it, you know. He just doesn't feel comfortable with anything. He's trying to. It's funny how pitchers kind of retort back to that. That's the first home run today, too. Yeah. Think about it. 13 runs. That's the first home run today.
The 1-0 to McCormick is taken for a strike. 6 of the Astros' 10 hits today have gone to the opposite field, including the Tucker home run. Altuve whooping it up. Kimbrel, not so much. Popped wide of first. That puts an end to a 5-run 7th inning. As the Sox come up in the 8th, they now trail it 9-4. You can bet on the MLB postseason with a risk-free wager. If it's risk-free, how is it a bet? Up to $1,000 at BetMGM. Eloy Jimenez bounces one foul as the Sox come up in the 8th. New center fielder, it's Jake Myers. Chas McCormick made the last out in the bottom of the 5-run 7th inning for the Astros. So defensive move. Myers, who went 2 for 4 yesterday in his first ever postseason game, is in center field. And here's Ryan Presley out of the bullpen. He pitched the scoreless 9th yesterday, striking out 2. He's their closer, using him here in the 8th with a 5-run lead.
I think a lot of it has to do, Bob, with the fact they have an off day tomorrow.
Yeah, sure.
And it also tells you what Dusty thinks about the importance of game 2 here.
Jimenez rolls it toward the middle. Altuve with a whirling throw off a backhanded grab, and he got him. That is some play to get to it, and then especially to whirl and peg on target.
I talked earlier about hits in there. I think that's the 5th or 6th ball that they've hit today. A little slow off the mark, but the transfer and the throw was as good as the defensive play. Watch the transfer of the ball to hand. There. That's the most difficult. That's about as difficult a part of that play as anything.
Just lightning quick.
Yeah, and transferring the ball, getting the seam, and getting your hand behind it. It's not a short throw either. That's the 5th or 6th hit they've turned into an out today, Jimmy.
Yeah, and I think it's you had guys like Ozzie Smith, Derek Jeter could make that. It's a play like a lot of the plays the Astros have made today that you don't practice during normal infield practice. I mean, they're just reactionary plays.
Hey, let's go out on the backfield and work on that play.
Yeah, right.
Now Moncada, who's 0 for 3. Only Bregman on the left side.
So on those you go, okay, everybody go practice it this way. Jose, you do it however you want to do it.
Right.
As long as we get the end result. He's a perfect example of a guy you don't overmanage. You know, and Tim Anderson's the same way.
Here's Bregman. Only guy there, and he was right there. Nearly pulled Gurriel off, but Yuli held the bag.
Well, when ball players are kids, and I'm sure today's players as well, we were, you just do things instinctively. And then you get to the big leagues, and all of a sudden with the analytics, they want to program you. But that's just a play that's done by instincts and skill. So I got to ask you, we've got a little ways to go. I mean, the Astros have a commanding lead. But as a manager, I mean, this is a game you could really pick apart.
Oh, yeah.
How you would think about, well, could I have done this? Or
Can I tell you this, really, though? It's funny. You know, we talk about hitting the balls up the middle. The Astros have hit a lot of ground balls that have gone through the infield.
Yeah.
And there's been 5 plays that the Astros have made to turn White Sox balls into to outs. I'm not saying luck or anything, good fortune. They've made well above average plays. You watching this?
The plate umpire, Chris Conroy, wanted to check, and Presley saying, no, it's just sweat. Let's bring in Tom.
Had a little issue last night, sweaty palms. We all get that this time of year, right? But that's especially dangerous for a pitcher. So in this day and age, guys, you got to make sure everything's kosher, and he just was wiping his hands with a towel.
Andrew Vaughn struck out twice, then was robbed of a base hit on a leaping grab at second base by Altuve. One of 3 terrific plays that Altuve has made today. This may drop, and it does. Sounded like a broken bat, but he reaches with 2 out. So now Leury Garcia, 1 for 3, but what he'll remember about this game, barring a huge comeback by the White Sox, is the ball that eluded him in right field off Correa's bat. Big hit in the 5-run inning. Kyle Tucker put the finishing touches on it with an opposite field home run.
Boy, the Astros and Brent Strom, their pitching coach, they've taken Presley, who was with the Twins for a while, and now all of a sudden with their technology they've had, they turned him into an all-star closer.
Garcia stays alive.
Yeah, I think in reference to your point about Garcia, it's not one of those plays you say it should have been made. It would have been spectacular if he made it. It was just hit so hard, but he's not a guy that plays right field every day. And when you play right field every day, you kind of get a better jump.
A chopper foul. Astros may head to Chicago up 2-0. Dusty Baker is not going to be overconfident. He had a 5-run lead in Game 6 of the World Series with the Giants against the Angels in 2002. That game and the series slipped away. A year later, he's managing in Chicago. They've got a 3-1 lead on the Marlins in the series, and then the Bartman game, the guy reaches over and touches the ball. Alou couldn't catch it. Garcia strikes out. That series slips away, adding to the Cubs' agony, which stretched until 2016. Had a 2-0 lead in another series when managing the Reds, a division series, and they couldn't finish it off, so he knows that nothing is assured. The Good Sam ALDS telecast on MLB Network is presented by Geico. We'll be right back. As the bottom of the 8th rolls around, Tony La Russa needs to get Liam Hendriks some work. So the right-hander from Perth, Australia comes on. And on the first pitch, Martin Maldonado sends one to deep right field. Garcia appears to have a beat on this one, and he takes it. So, Buck, you understand this. Hendriks, who's been terrific, an all-star. Got to get him some work here.
Yeah, he's had 5 days off. He reminded me before the game that we DFA'd him, designated for assignment in Baltimore, pulled him out of the weight room.
Yeah.
I said, well, we talk about our good points. That one didn't work out too good.
I'll tell you, it's been fun talking baseball with you.
Yeah.
Lots to talk about, too. Great defensive plays, shifts, beating the shift. And
20 hits, no errors, and only 1 home run.
Right. Real baseball.
Back to the top of the order now for Jose Altuve, who has only one hit but has had a great game. Sparkled in the field and started that 5-run 7th inning with a leadoff single.
I don't want to belabor the point, but I'm going to.
Go ahead.
Do you know how many balls they've turned into outs today?
Yeah.
I mean, and the White Sox, you know, a step here or there, the short hop double play to first base, line drive to third base. Altuve's made 2 plays that maybe nobody else in baseball makes. And next thing you know, you look up, you're down 9-4.
Well, the Astros are an outstanding defensive team. The White Sox, by most measurements, not.
Well, and that's why things that I call it not in the box score used to do a 1 a game, but we've had, you know, the shifts that hurt teams today. So things that don't show up, and the great fielding plays, they'll just look like outs in the box score, but we know they were great plays.
Well, the White Sox were getting ready to put a 3 or 4 spot on the board in the first inning, and they ended up with just 1.
Altuve strikes out. Here, take a look at the glove work today by Altuve.
Come on, man.
Wow.
Come on.
Oh, I thought it was going to be all 3 or 4.
Well, I don't think we got enough time for all their good defensive plays.
Well, that was one of them.
Yeah.
StatCast is powered by Google Cloud. 2 out, nobody on for Michael Brantley.
Come out.
Here is a stat on Liam Hendricks, which is mind-boggling. During the regular season, he struck out 113 and walked 7.
Yeah. How'd you like to have that as a manager? Oh my goodness.
I did. I did, but not like that.
Yeah.
He wasn't pitching like.
Well,
God bless him. He's really come a long way. Loves baseball. Good teammate. Kind of guy you like to have on a club, and he gets people out.
He was a starter with the Twins early in his career.
He's done a little bit of everything. He's found a niche, boy.
He must remind La Russa in some respects of his old ace reliever Dennis Eckersley. Eck put together those kind of strikeout to walk ratios in the late 80s, early 90s for La Russa in Oakland.
Yeah, managers I played for, if you give up a hit here and there, okay, but those base on balls, man.
Probably, if you're looking back on it, other than the great defense by the Astros, you know, if they hold on here, a lot of it's got to do with the walks that the White Sox have issued today.
Weak swing from Brantley. Uncharacteristically, he will strike out 3 times in this game. Just a footnote, though, if this lead holds. 9-4 after 8. This copyrighted telecast is presented by authority of the Office of the Commissioner of Baseball and may not be reproduced or retransmitted in any form, and the accounts and descriptions of this game may not be disseminated without express written consent. In comes Kendall Graveman, who pitched the 8th yesterday through 24 pitches, allowed a run, the only run the White Sox scored on a Jose Abreu single. So he's asked to finish it up here.
Buck, I see this as a little psychological play by Dusty, because Graveman's been a starter. So even though it's a 5-run lead, there's something about getting those last 3 outs, and I think he wants to see, can this guy do it?
Well, I think it's deep, because you know where they are in the batting order and who is senior guy. They go, well, you've seen him all year. No, they haven't. You know, this is the Central and the West, and sometimes you're trying to move your guys around where they don't see them too much. You don't want him facing the exact same hitters that he faced yesterday in Presley. So there's always some, even in a 9-4 game, there's managing to be done for the next game. Sure. You're thinking about some way to get an advantage down the road. Well, I don't want him to see the same guys that saw him yesterday. I want the first time that those guys face a Presley, it was a game on the line in Chicago.
Although they did see Presley both yesterday and today. Both of them Astro victories.
My question would be, were they the same hitters?
You can follow all the action of the postseason with the MLB app. From real-time tracking of every pitch to in-depth analysis of the games themselves. Download the MLB app today to make this postseason major. Full count now to Hernandez, who came into the game as a pinch hitter in the 7th and struck out in his only at bat to this point. Not what Graveman had in mind. A leadoff walk.
When it comes to your health, what you do next matters most. Roman, official partner of Major League Baseball.
As Tim Anderson steps to the plate and Maldonado goes out to talk with Graveman. I'm going to give full credit to Tom Verducci for this, but we didn't have a chance to get to him during the game. You know, Kitty, I often say to you, you've been around so long and your career touched so many significant players at the front end and at the back end that I think I could connect you to Abner Doubleday in 4 or 5 moves. Well, how about this? Let's connect Tony La Russa not just to Connie Mack, but in a sense to Abraham Lincoln.
Wow.
Connie Mack was born in 1862. The Civil War is underway. He manages the Philadelphia A's from 1900 to 1950, and in the late 1940s, Nellie Fox plays for him in Philadelphia. Then he goes on to accumulate most of his Hall of Fame credentials with the Chicago White Sox, where he's a teammate of Minnie Minoso. Now, La Russa at age 34 takes over as the manager of the White Sox in 1979. But Minnie Minoso, who's in his 50s, comes back and plays a handful of games, gets 2 or 3 at-bats in 1980, so we could say that he played in 5 decades. So, La Russa managed Minoso, who played with Fox, who played with Mack, who was born, played for Mack, who was born when Abraham Lincoln was president.
Okay. How about that? And now Graveman's 2-0. And Dusty Baker is starting to pace the dugout.
And there's some movement in the bullpen.
That was rain delay material, but it's a sunny day and the roof is closed, so that wasn't going to happen.
I mean, there is something. I don't care the score. I know from being through it is to get that last out without a safety net. You know it.
You think there's some guys that can get the last 3 outs and some can't? Are that what you're trying to say?
You know.
Different cat, man. And Graveman can do it. He can do it. He's done it for Oakland. He's kind of bended himself, turned to a good major league pitcher.
Yeah, and I think that's why Dusty, one of the reasons he wants him here is to get that 9th inning experience.
I'll tell you, you see Liam Hendricks in there, he's expecting them to tie the game up, and he's going back out there.
Right.
Anderson is 2 for 4, awaits the 2-2 pitch, and he just serves it to the right side of the diamond, and even Altuve can't capture that one. So a walk and a hit, and it isn't time yet to become uneasy, but
oh yeah, it is.
Could be getting
there.
there.
Yeah, it is.
You got a manager sitting next to you, Bob. You know?
Getting 27 outs at the major league level. What hit me when I first came to the big leagues is how quickly leads can evaporate up here. Because the 9-hole hitter is capable of hitting a home run. Everybody's capable of hitting multiple home runs.
Christian Javier gets up just in case. He's already used his closer, Ryan Presley, in a different role.
That's what those guys are called in spring training, jicks, just in case. The guys you take on spring training trips in case something happens.
That's how I got my first inning.
That jick down there is in case Graveman doesn't get this guy out.
Right.
And this guy is Luis Robert, who's 3 for 3 with a walk and is 5 for 6 in the series. The velocity is there. Pinpoint control is not. Ball one. The 1-1. Fouled away. Robert has reached base every at bat in this series. Yesterday he was 2 for 3. The one time he was officially held without a hit, he reached on an error. He was also hit by a pitch. And in this game he has 3 singles and a walk. So he's never gone back to the dugout, at least until the inning was over, or he had scored. Trying to think of all the reasons why he might return to the dugout even though he hadn't been retired.
Anybody can draw a connection to Abe Lincoln. I bet you can do it.
that was Verducci.
That was beautiful.
That was Verducci. Up high.
Checking the sign sequence. I think, Buck, you pointed out as you see the spray chart there for Luis Robert that the Astros have no mound visits left.
I don't think so. You know,
so you're on your own out there. Don't look for any coaching. Yep.
Graveman taking his own sweet time. And now the 2-2 pitch. Off-speed pitch fouled back to the screen.
What's the penalty?
They will stop you and eject you. You can't come out.
Home plate umpire runs over, tackles a pitching coach or something.
This game is approaching the 4-hour mark. Graveman in no particular hurry to end it. Gathering himself. A couple of deep breaths. Check of the runners. And another 2-2 pitch. And another foul ball.
When I see him walk around the mound, I know one thing position players love is when they see a pitcher acting like, I'm in charge, I'm going to get the ball, here it is. And you kind of look around at the Astros fielders, they're a little bit back on their heels. They've been out there a long time.
The defense that they played today, I might say to them, how do you want me to pitch to help you make those plays you've been making?
Robert fouls it back again, and here's Tom.
Yeah, well, Dusty Baker was comfortable having Presley pitch the 8th because, first of all, he got up and warmed up when it was a 1-run game. Then Tucker broke it open. But he also knew he had Graveman behind Presley. Graveman was closing for the Seattle Mariners this year, had 10 saves at the time they made the trade. Now, he has tremendous movement on his sinker. But in Game 1 and here in Game 2, he's not been able to command that sinker, almost too much movement. So behind him, Christian Javier, who has no career saves.
And Robert,
he's
will make Graveman work.
This is his 21st pitch here.
Yeah,
21. There's a really good chance we might see Javier in here.
By the way, if Robert or somebody else reaches before Javier comes in, it would be a save situation. Tying run, on base at bat, or on deck. Could be a tough play. Correa charges, throws, gets him. So that's the first out in the 9th. The runners move up 90 feet, 2nd and 3rd with 1 out.
You know, guys that run well, when they get jammed, you always get a bad time on down the line. You kind of look and go, boy, Anderson thought runs better than that. When you get a ball beats you deep in the batter's box and on the bat, guys don't get out of the box. See how that got him on the brand? He didn't get out of the box good. It makes you finish. Watch how low on the barrel this is. Kind of gives you a jolt and you kind of finish on your backside. Scouts will tell you, you get a lot of bad times on guys when they get jammed.
Now here's Abreu. Two for three with a walk today.
Well, we've seen him go the other way, but that was a 3-run homer swing. Let's get us within 2 is what he was saying.
There was a question as to whether Abreu would play in either or both of these first 2 games of the series. Had flu-like symptoms. They tested him, not COVID related, but he was feeling a little wobbly. But he has started and played both games. Threw it by him at 96.
Yeah. Tough pitch to lay off, tough pitch to catch up with. Right up in your eyes. Looks good.
Abreu had led the American League in RBIs the previous 2 seasons. Salvador Perez, in the midst of a career season, snapped that string. Struck him out on 3 pitches.
That little ground ball out was a big out, wasn't it?
I was thinking the same thing. I brought back some memories when Correa made that play across the diamond to get Anderson out. You're in the dugout going, okay, we got a chance.
Right. And so did Graveman.
I may not have to go get somebody else that I really don't want to bring in here. Jimmy, you see all this now. That's the first sign and whatever number on the pitch sequence. Remember when you used to, the catcher would put a sign down and you would subtract or add with your glove?
Yeah.
Or up top?
A lot of times he'd just make the sign of the cross and put his glove up and say, do your best.
Or you do like Gaza, he just put his hands up and said, bring it.
Yasmani Grandal is the White Sox last hope. Hit by a pitch, hit into a double play, had a sacrifice fly, then was robbed of an extra base hit on a fine running catch in deep right field by Kyle Tucker. Tucker, by the way, has an RBI single and a 2-run homer in this game, in addition to that excellent defensive play. But we have to decide who the player of the game is, and it might be Altuve, who had only 1 hit, but was just so terrific with the glove.
Me on the base twice.
This one is lifted down the right field line. It's Altuve in pursuit into foul ground. Who's going to take it? It's going to be Tucker. The 2 guys in question converged on it. Tucker put it away to put the finishing touches on a 9-4 Houston lead, and they take a 2-0 lead in a best-of-5 series to Chicago.
they made the plays. They got the hits. Graveman made it a little interesting, but they got the big outs. The White Sox were victimized by too many base on balls.
Feels like if the ball stayed in the ballpark, Altuve's going to catch it. He would have caught that ball if he wanted to.
Tom Verducci is with Carlos Correa. Tom?
Thanks, Bob. Well, Carlos, you had a big 2-out hit that helped break the game open. It was a 1-run game at that point. But I want to take you back to the swing before that, 2 pitches earlier. We had the same pitch, the fastball. The swing got really big. Tell me about that at bat and getting to that double.
Well, knowing Kimbrough, you know that fastball's going to ride up. So I was kind of mad because I got too big, like you said. And also, I chased that pitch that was out of the zone. And then 3-1, I just tried to stay short, see the ball down, and try to get on top of it. And, you know, it worked out. Got that double.
Your manager, Dusty Baker, says that doing the little things is like stacking pennies. Today on defense, you guys stacked a lot of pennies. How important is that to this team's success?
Very important. We take a lot of pride on that. In spring training, we talked about our defense and try to get better and try to be #1 in the league. And our defense was great throughout the whole year. And now in the playoffs, we know how important playing defense is. And that, for us, that's what wins championships. So if you can pick up the ball out there, you're going to have a good chance of winning ball games. And that's what we did today.
But let's face it, you are the highest scoring team in baseball. Offensively today, you're trailing Chicago 4-2. Giolito's on the mound. You come back to grab this win. 16 base runners. How would you describe this offense when it's working like it was tonight?
This offense is relentless, man. Giolito had his best stuff today, and you saw a lot of 3-2 counts. That's why he came out of the game so early. That was the key of us getting to the bullpen early in the game because there were a lot of 3-2 counts. His changeup was working, his slider was working, his fastball was on top of the zone all the time. It's tough to get to him when he's on those days, but we did a great job to get him out of the game early, and then we got to the bullpen. That was the key.
Carlos, you go to Chicago up 2-0. In a 5-game series, teams with that lead have clinched the series 88% of the time. Those are the numbers. Tell me what's ahead for this team going to Chicago.
Well, obviously you feel great going to Chicago with a 2-game lead, but at the same time we got to take care of business. It's not 100%. You said 88, so we got to make sure it doesn't happen, and we got to make sure we take care of business and win that one game that's left.
Carlos, thank you. Congratulations.
Thank you, brother.
Back to you, Bob.
All right, Tom, well, to Carlos Correa's point, of the 86 teams that have gone up 2-0 in a best-of-5 postseason series, 76 of the 86 have gone on to win the series. One of the 10 was managed by Dusty Baker, and we'll get back to that in a moment. Today's player of the game was presented by Good Sam RV Parks, and that player is Jose Altuve. His single started the 5-run 7th, and his defense sparkled all day.
Yeah, he was in charge of 90 feet all day. He went first to third. That play there, I counted like 6 times he stopped or pushed 90 feet. First to third, he top spin ground ball through the infield. There's just so much energy he brings there, Jim. That was fun to watch.
Yeah, you see the hits and the walks and the runs and the defense. And as Dusty said about stacking the pennies, the Astros are doing everything right, and the White Sox are just making too many mistakes.
Tucker had a great game, too, but I thought Altuve just impacted the game so many different ways.
And to finish up that thought, there's no way that Dusty Baker, who's seen it all, is going to be complacent.
No.
In 2012, managing the Reds, he led the Giants, Bruce Bochy's Giants, 2-0 in the division series. The Giants came back, won the next 3, used that as a springboard to the second of their 3 world championships, 2010, 2012, 2014. It doesn't happen often, but it can happen.
Yeah, and I think the goal, and Buck, you would know this, the goal is to treat game 3 like it's the last game. You don't want to give any foot the door.
Yeah, we beat the Tigers 2 games at our place. Going there, you knew you had a dogfight. I think everybody there is mature enough to know when you get on the plane, yep, you got a day to kind of play with it. You better get refocused because there's a reason why the White Sox won 93 games. You better not let them get off the mat.
Guys, it was fun. Thank you, Buck.
Enjoyed it.
Thank you, Kitty, as always. And folks, you can catch the rest of today's MLB playoff action on TBS and FS1. And Sunday at 4 Eastern, back here on MLB Network, it's Game 3 of the Rays and the Red Sox from Fenway Park with Matt Vasgersian and John Smoltz. Coming up next, it's the MLB Tonight postgame show presented by Evan Williams Bourbon. For Jim Cobb, Buck Showalter, and Tom Verducci, and our entire crew, Bob Costas saying so long and thanks for watching the Good Sam ALDS telecast on MLB Network, presented by Geico.